Meeting. Before Mayor Parker calls the meeting to order, we ask that you please silence all electronic devices. For those of you who have requested to speak, there are 2 podiums in the chamber. The podium in the back is for individuals with mobility concerns. We ask all others to step forward to the front podium. Each podium has a countdown clock located to the speaker's right that will indicate how much time is remaining. A bell will sound when you have 30 seconds left. Speakers registered on consent agenda items will be taken following the announcements of any items being pulled from the consent agenda. Speakers registered on non-consent items other than public hearing and zoning cases will be taken following council announcements. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to speak on items within those blocks that they registered to speak on. Before you begin your comments, please state your name. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to your Fort Worth City Council meeting. Today is June 11th. I will call us to order and turn it back over to Jeanette.
Tonight's invocation will be by Ronald Lee from the Chinese Baptist Church. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledges of allegiance.
First of all, I want to bring greetings and blessings from Chinese Baptist Church of Fort Worth. We are a small church on Highway 20 and Hewlin, but we conduct our services in 3 languages, in Mandarin, in Cantonese, and in English. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, gracious Lord, we give you thanks and praise because you are all sufficient, all knowing, all powerful. You have created the universe for mankind to explore, to enjoy. You have given us this great country and the freedom to worship you. You have given us the manuals, instructions to life, and show us how to live our lives to the fullest. In your scripture, you have told us that blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Also, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and heal their lands. With this freedom to worship, Lord, we want to lift up Mayor Parker, the city councilman, and all the public servants who serve this city tirelessly and faithfully, and at times thanklessly. So we know this is complicated to govern a city. We ask you, Holy Father, to give Mayor Parker and all the servants the wisdom to govern justly, the integrity to live as an example to the citizens of Fort Worth, and the health to live to their fullest, and the protection from harm, and the compassion to serve those who are oppressed and helpless. We ask you to bless this city council meeting, and the meeting will be fruitful and to the best of their abilities. In the name of the God who created this universe, we pray. Amen.
Our first items will be special presentations, with the first one being a presentation of proclamation for the 25th anniversary of the Fort Worth Herd.
Thank you, and I'm going to join Councilmember Carlos Flores at the podium and also invite our friends from the Fort Worth Herd to join behind me, so that may take you a minute to make your way there. Oh, you brought a prop. Man, you're good. Well done, Carlos. So today is very exciting for the Fort Worth City Council to come before you to honor the 25th anniversary of the Fort Worth Herd. For those that may not be aware, I think everyone in this room probably knows very well who the Fort Worth Herd is. They made its first cattle drive to the Fort Worth Stockyards National Historical District on June 12th, 1999, in front of 15,000 spectators. Since its inception, the Fort Worth Herd has held the honor of being the world's only twice daily cattle drive that has captivated millions of spectators during its 25-year history. And this proclamation does celebrate 25 years of the Fort Worth Herd's representation of our legendary past and its celebration of our Western heritage. I'm going to read a portion of this proclamation, and I'll ask Councilmember Flores, of course, to also step in. Whereas the Fort Worth Herd is one of the top attractions in Texas and an enduring symbol of Fort Worth's Western heritage, the world's only twice daily cattle drive delights visitors and locals every day, celebrating Western culture and offering visitors from around the world a glimpse into the past. Whereas the Fort Worth Herd was established on June 12, 1999 to commemorate the city's early history, it has been under the management of Visit Fort Worth since 2010. And whereas the herd consists of 12 longhorn steers, 1 steer for every decade since Fort Worth's founding. Steers are led down East Exchange Avenue by a historically authentic, diverse team of drovers representing Texas. The spectacle has captivated almost 20 million people since its inception. 25 years of entertainment, education, and enhancement of Fort Worth's image as a cornerstone of the American West. And whereas the Stockyards National Historic District is now full of dining, shopping, nightlife, museums, and one-of-a-kind Texas entertainment, it has never lost sight of its roots, nor does it forget the contributions of every drover, shopkeeper, and visitor that laid the groundwork for Fort Worth's growth and success. And now, therefore, the City of Fort Worth does hereby proclaim and celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Fort Worth Herd. I'll have to tell a quick story, and then I'll turn it over to Kristen and to Carlos, but I recently had Mayor Mike give me the story about Jim Lane's tenacity to make sure you had the Fort Worth Herd. And if you knew Councilman Jim Lane at all, this won't surprise you. He got this idea in his head. I think he walked in the office and very bluntly, crassly told the mayor, "We're going to have some longhorns in the stockyard. Is that good with you?" To which there was no ability to answer yes or no. He just walked off at the same time. So it's amazing to me that 25 years later, you're still going strong. There's no better representation for this organization than you. So thank you so much for your tenacity to lead this group. And Councilmember Flores, I think you're a very proud council member. If you'd like to say a few words, you may.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Kristen, and thank you, drovers. Extremely proud is the word that all of us are of our Fort Worth Herd and the trail boss and the drovers that make it happen every day. I just want to simply say you honor us by being here. You honor us by the 25-year pin. Thank you very much. Very proud of that. Please continue doing what you do because you do it so well. You represent Fort Worth iconically, and I certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. My goodness. So I am very passion driven, so it is hard not to be totally emotional to accept this proclamation. Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Flores, and all of the members of the council. We are truly so proud to continue to represent Fort Worth, our Western heritage, and to captivate an audience from truly all over the world, twice a day, for the last 25 years. It is just such an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity to continue to enhance the Fort Worth experience, showcasing Texas Longhorns, magnificent horses, and of course, this very distinguished, accomplished team that's with us tonight. And I agree, Mayor, standing in these chambers, I absolutely am reminded of the founders of this program, led by the late Jim Lane, who was our city council member for District 2. He was such a champion of this program for decades. And I just want you all to know that his spirit, commitment, and enthusiasm for this city's rich history still guides us day to day. And now we've got a room full of supporters. And I want to thank Bob Jameson and the Visit Fort Worth team and Pam Minnick and the Friends of the Fort Worth Herd board members for truly leading us into a prosperous future. So thank you for taking that on. And we do hope that you can join us for our 25th anniversary celebration, Cowboy Conversations, that will be held October 2nd. And again, on behalf of myself, Visit Fort Worth, all of our team and all of the stakeholders involved in our program, we express our gratitude for your continued support and your recognition today. Thank you so much.
Mayor?
Y'all next. Huh? For this one? Yes. Yeah, this, you can cue it, that'd be fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Next up is a presentation or proclamation for Moral Injury Awareness Day, and we're going to cue a video.
Setting out on a 700-mile
this was for
cattle
them.
drive from South
Sorry.
Texas to Abilene, Kansas.
This is for the Fort Worth
isn't for
herd.
the faint of
Apologies.
heart,
Michelle's video.
especially not in the late 1800s.
Your video or no?
It took grit,
No. Okay.
courage, determination. Drovers spent months driving thousands of cattle up the Chisholm Trail in the blistering heat, driving rain and frigid winds. Each new day meant new challenges to endure, rivers to cross, obstacles to overcome. The trail was full of uncertainty, but still, they kept on driving. Why? Because this was the way forward, the path to prosperity, with the promise of their hard-earned reward waiting just at the end of the trail. The Fort Worth herd was established a quarter century ago to commemorate our great cattle drives of a bygone era. But when people see this magnificent herd today, they're getting more than just a glimpse into our past. They're seeing Fort Worth's present and our future. The same grit, courage, and determination that built this city 150 years ago still pulses through our streets and our people. Maybe that's what makes this city so unexpected. The original Texas spirit, unbroken by time, connects today's pioneers, leaders, strivers, and makers to the cowboys and cowgirls who paved the way. So let's tip our hats to how far we've come, then set our eyes on the trail ahead, because no matter what hardships we might face, the promise of tomorrow is still calling. Ride on.
Very well done. Thank you to Visit Fort Worth for producing that video. I think Taylor Sheridan should eat his heart out on that one. It was very well done. Yes, it's excellent. Okay. Moving now to the presentation of proclamation of Moral Injury Awareness Day. If our friends from AWA would like to join behind me, that would be wonderful to have you. And I think Chief Neil Noakes and Chief Jim Davis are also going to be with us here. So just a little bit about the American Warrior Association, otherwise known as AWA. For those of you that don't know, they truly are like family to us here in the city of Fort Worth. They are dedicated to honoring, aiding, and supporting our military veterans and first responders who uphold the principles of our country and have chosen to unselfishly serve others. AWA has a public-private partnership, R3, which stands for Respond, Restore, and Resolve, which serves to provide a proactive framework focused on mental wellness and resilience, offering hope and vital resources to those who serve our communities. Before I read this proclamation, I just want to acknowledge the partnership that AWA has created for the city of Fort Worth. I've been really blessed to go to your event year after year. I'm always touched by the philanthropy that's in this community, But you've now turned that into a program that is incredibly meaningful for the men and women that wear a uniform here in the city of Fort Worth, which is why so many of them here today are here to say thank you. Today's proclamation is Moral Injury Awareness Day. Whereas moral injury is the damage done to one's conscience or moral compass when a person perpetrates, witnesses, or fails to prevent acts that transgress one's own moral beliefs, values, or ethical codes of conduct. Whereas Fort Worth American Warrior Association launched a historic public-private partnership and called R3, Respond, Restore, Resolve, to address moral injury and provide a holistic approach to wellness by integrating mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual support. Whereas the AWA's dedication to supporting military members, veterans, and first responders is the foundation of R3. By providing a spectrum of support programs, the AWA champions the well-being of our nation's heroes, aligning the R3's mission to offer comprehensive holistic support. And whereas R3 offers training, access to non-clinical preventative care resources, and culturally competent counseling, all with the goal to eliminate potential stigma and increase the efficiency and effectiveness of departmental support. And whereas rooted in Fort Worth, R3 is designed for scalability with the AWA guiding its expansion across the nation. The first of its kind, this program serves as a model for addressing first responder wellness, ensuring communities everywhere can benefit from its innovative approach. And now, therefore, the City of Fort Worth does hereby proclaim June 11th, 2024 as Moral Injury Awareness Day.
Thank you guys so much. I am deeply honored to stand before you today as we recognize this significant milestone. This proclamation is a powerful testament to the importance of our work and the dedication of our community. So thank you. Just 3 months ago, we launched R3, Respond, Restore, Resolve, in collaboration with the Fort Worth Police Department and the Fort Worth Fire Department. R3 provides first responders with the tools and resources they need to address moral injury and fosters resilience and well-being. For our departments, this program promotes a healthier workforce and improves overall performance and morale. Ultimately, these efforts will strengthen the bonds between our first responders and the people they serve. We are immensely grateful for the support from Mayor Parker and each of you, City Council members. Your recognition and endorsement of Moral Injury Awareness Day are pivotal in our ongoing efforts to provide support and support our first responders' mental wellness. This proclamation is not just a recognition. It is a call to action for communities across the country to join us in this vital conversation. Mayor Parker, City Council members, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your unwavering support. It is our hope that R3 continues to break down the stigma around discussing mental health, paving the way for a healthier future for all. May God bless each one of you and the great city of Fort Worth. Thank you.
Next will be a presentation of proclamation for National Reunification Month.
Councilmember Larsdorf, I believe this is your proclamation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. If I could be joined by the CASA staff down at the podium, I'd appreciate it. Where's Zed? That will reflect. That will reflect. He said he talked to you today. No, he has not talked to me, so I will, I'll have a conversation with him. So, well, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this one's very special to me. For the last couple of years, I have been a CASA volunteer. For those of you who don't know what CASA is, it's a court-appointed special advocate. It's actually one of the only people who's going to be in a child's life from the time they're removed from their home for whatever reason until they're reunified with parents or family or foster parents. And so you're there the entire time. You're their voice in court. You're there for them. You're checking on their well-being. It's great because they are surrounded by amazing people. You know, our courts, their attorney ad litem's, everyone who truly loves them. But we are the only ones who are the actually unpaid party to this child's life. Whenever I became a volunteer a few years ago, I told CASA, and I don't know why I told him, I was like, hey, I want your hardest cases. Like, you know, everyone wants a 3 or 4 year old, which is amazing. I was like, give me your hardest case. And sure enough, they did. But I have to say it's probably the most rewarding thing I have done in my life. Being a part of a child's life and being their voice in the courts. I can say without a doubt to everyone here, they have done far more for me than I could ever do for this organization. The end goal for CASA is to reunify that child, hopefully with parents or family. That's the goal. Unfortunately, that we live in a fallen world, that doesn't always happen. But having an organization like CASA who can help that child and be that child's voice, it just means so much to me. So one, thank you all for what you do on a daily basis for our children, not just in Tarrant County, in Fort Worth, but thank you so much for what you do. So with that, I am proud to read this proclamation. Whereas June is nationally recognized as National Reunification Month, a time to celebrate the power of family reunification and its positive impact on the lives of children in the foster care system and their parents, to honor the dedicated CASA volunteers and professionals who support them. And whereas of all closed Fort Worth cases in 2023, 33% of children were reunified with parents and 26% went home to relatives because of the support provided by CASA of Tarrant County. And whereas the City of Fort Worth commends CASA of Tarrant County for its unwavering commitment to providing a safe, stable, and nurturing environment for children in foster care. And whereas CASA of Tarrant County, through its dedicated network of court-appointed special advocates, CASAs, provide a vital voice for those vulnerable children in court proceedings and ensures their best interests are heard. And whereas the City of Fort Worth applauds CASA of Tarrant County for its unwavering commitment to providing a safe, stable, and nurturing environment for children in foster care. And whereas we appreciate the importance of family preservation and the efforts undertaken to ensure children remain or are reunited with their families whenever safely possible, and applaud CASA volunteers who support parents and relatives of children in foster care. Now, therefore, the City of Fort Worth does hereby proclaim June 2024 as National Reunification Month.
I'm Don Binnicker. I'm the CEO for CASA of Tarrant County. CASA graduated and completed class after class after class of volunteers that went through extensive training to learn how to advocate on behalf of children. We have some wonderful volunteers. I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank City Council. I want to thank our volunteers that have been there. We've had hundreds of volunteers from Fort Worth that have helped us serve the children in foster care. We celebrated 40 years last year, and this is our 41st, so we're excited about what we do. We couldn't have done it without our staff, without our board members, without our volunteers that have spent hours and hours advocating on behalf of these children. We believe children belong in their family. That is the best place for children. And we believe they come into care not by choice, not by anything they did, but something that happened in their home. We believe it is best for them to be able to go home, and we're going to do everything we can to try to make sure that home is safe for them to be able to do that. Sometimes it's not possible, but our goal is to get these kids home and have connections with family, because that's what's important in their lives. So we thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Before we grab a picture, I have to shamelessly use this stage as an opportunity to recruit for CASA. They're in strong need of volunteers, specifically male volunteers. There is no shortage of male volunteers, and specifically men of color. We need you. We need you to step up. Help us be that voice for these children out there. I guarantee you will not regret it. So with that, if we can just get a photo together.
Next will be a presentation, a proclamation for Legacy Lake Como 2024 Como Fest.
And I believe Councilmember Williams is going to take care of this remotely.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thanks for Mayor. Hello there. Thank
Y'all
you,
come
Mayor
on
and
down if
Council.
y'all like to.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity. Davia will be my hands and feet there in person. I wish I could be there in person, but many of y'all know I had baby. My wife and I had baby Jameson last Sunday, and so I have help tonight on this sidekick here, helping me present this problem. I'm going to read this, and then Davia will present the actual copy in person, and then we'll take a group photo. Hopefully they can get the screen as well. The proclamation reads, whereas Legacy Lake Como and the Lake Como Planning Committee have exemplified exceptional leadership each year by bringing the community together to celebrate Independence Day and Lake Como's rich and beautiful history on July 3rd and July 4th. And whereas Legacy Lake Como founded Como Fest in 2021, a beloved community event held annually the day before the July 4th parade to bring the community together for a day of fun-filled family festivities designed to bridge generational gaps and celebrate Lake Como's heritage. And whereas Como Fest is a cornerstone in the community and stands as a testament to the spirit of family, unity, and community, fostering meaningful connections among residents, families, and longtime friends, thereby nurturing a sense of homecoming and belonging within the Lake Como community. And whereas the Lake Como Planning Committee will proudly present the 74th Annual W.H. Wilburn Lake Como Day Parade. And whereas we commend the Lake Como Planning Committee for their vision and tireless work in organizing this year's event and for uniting us all in a common purpose to remember the past with dignity and embrace the future with hope. And whereas on this day, we express our sincere gratitude to the organizers, volunteers, sponsors, and attendees of the 4th Annual Como Fest and the 74th Annual W.H. Wilburn Lake Como Day Parade, and extend our appreciation to Legacy Lake Como and the Lake Como Planning Committee for their commitment to the Lake Como community. And now, therefore, the City of Fort Worth does hereby recognize and celebrate the 4th Annual Como Fest and the 74th Annual W.H. Wilburn Lake Como Day Parade. Congratulations, and we look forward to participating with y'all.
Mayor, you know what?
Thank you.
If Jared had asked us, we would have come down there with you all and presented that plaque. So why don't we go down there?
We'll do that for pictures. How about
Okay.
that, please?
Yeah, please.
Can- Yes.
Right. Thank you, Mayor Parker, Jared, Councilman Crane, and the rest of the council members. But I would like to also thank the planning committee. Could y'all please stand? Members of the planning committee, if y'all would come on down. Could y'all please come on down, because this is a joint recognition. This is joint recognition. Yeah, this is joint. This is Lake Como Planning Committee. Yeah, right.
Right on, come on. Yeah. Come on, Shaq.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please join us. These are our aunties, this is our elders. These are the ones that's been doing it long before we have.
That's right.
Also, I would like to thank my father, who I succeeded as chairman. Dad, would you please stand? Daddy, stand up. Yeah, Mr. John Hudson, who was the chairman for the Lake Como Day Parade for over 40 years, and I succeeded him last year. So I hope he trusts his teachings now. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
We're gonna get right, you get in the middle here.
Mayor and council, don't go too far. I need your help on the next two.
So the next will be presentation of certificates of recognition to the Lake Como Neighborhood Advisory Council.
Thank you. I have two more recognitions to celebrate Lake Como NAC for two outstanding things. The first one is in celebration of their Juneteenth celebration. So I'll read that certificate and then I will follow up with the second one. And while I'm doing that, if the Lake Como NAC and all of our Como community come down to be recognized. This certificate of recognition from the Office of Council District 6. This certificate hereby recognizes the Lake Como Neighborhood Advisory Council's 4th annual Lake Como Juneteenth celebration, The Way We Move. The Lake Como Juneteenth celebration is a day of remembrance, education, and community, honoring Juneteenth's rich heritage and legacy in Como. This celebration includes live performances, local vendors, and other festivities that create a space for joy, connection, culture, and artistic expression. We commend the Lake Como NAC's unwavering commitment to honoring the legacy of Juneteenth. This certificate is presented to Lake Como Neighborhood Advisory Council in recognition of the 4th annual Lake Como Juneteenth celebration, The Way We Moved, on this date. Congratulations, and thank y'all for everything that y'all do for our community. Don't go anywhere. I have one more, and then I'll pass over the microphone. The next one is a very special recognition to honor an amazing achievement that the Como neighborhood recently earned. This certificate of recognition also from the Council of District 6. This certificate hereby recognizes the Lake Como Neighborhood Advisory Council for being honored as the Neighborhoods USA Conference 2024 Neighborhood of the Year and earning first place in the Sector Evaluation Category. We also commend the Lake Como NAC for earning the Spirit of Fort Worth Award, Civic Engagement and Community Collaboration Award, Neighbor of the Year Award, and the Neighborhood at the 2023 City of Fort Worth Neighborhood Awards. These recognitions highlight the Lake Como Neighborhood Advisory Council's work as a model neighborhood for promoting community participation, collective decision-making, and positive neighborhood impact in the city of Fort Worth and across the country. Notably, the Lake Como neighborhood works diligently to promote civic engagement, encourage collaboration for the common good, establish goodwill among residents, advocate for improving public facilities and services, and engage with elected government and community stakeholders to address community needs. We extend a deep congratulations to the entire Lake Como community on these prestigious and well-deserved accolades. This certificate is presented to the Lake Como Neighborhood Advisory Council in recognition of all of this amazing achievements. Congratulations, love y'all very much, and wish I could have been there in person today. God bless y'all. Please feel free to say some words, Dina, Madam President. Oh, come on, y'all. We need the whole community down here in this picture. It's all right. I'm going to try to get Jameson in the picture, too. He's like the light. Thank y'all.
Congratulations, everybody.
Dina is the president of Neighborhood. Dina, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening. On behalf of the community, we just want to thank Mayor Parker and our awesome Councilman Williams. This is really what Como is. This is the pride and the heritage of what Como really is, and we thank all of the community leaders, the nonprofits, the organizations, everyone that comes out and helps and volunteers and puts their hard work, sweat, and tears into everything that we do. So we're very honored to get this award because this is really what Como is. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jack.
Next will be presentation of certificates of recognition for Pride Month.
And Councilwoman Beck will lead this off.
Should have brought my water with me. If Mayor Parker, Carlos Flores, Jared Williams, I know you're on the screen, Jeanette Martinez, Chris Nettles, and Mayor Pro Tem Gina Bivens would like to join me at the podium, I would be very welcome to have you here with me tonight. Okay, I'm gonna turn this way because really I'm talking to y'all out in the crowd. Happy Pride Month, y'all. All right. So, thank you so much for coming out today. So when we talk about pride, what does that mean? Well, pride is having pride in the face of adversity, in the face of hatred, in the face of fear and the unknown. It's being resilient. It's standing up in your community and saying, this is who I am, whatever that might be, whether you're LGBTQIA+, whether you're just different in some way. We celebrate pride because we celebrate what makes each and every individual in this city unique. And I am so, come on down. I don't bite, I mean a little, but not tonight. And so tonight we really want to celebrate some groups and some individuals that have made such a huge impact in the city of Fort Worth, not just for the LGBTQ community, but for the city at large. And here in the city of Fort Worth, in this very council chamber, we do not have to look very far to see some of the contributions that members of our LGBTQ community have made to the city of Fort Worth, because standing on the wall right behind all of us as we sit on this dais every Tuesday is a piece of artwork made by a member of the LGBTQ community right here in Fort Worth. All right, I think that's, all right. Okay, I think
She'll appear.
Gina's coming down. I have no fear. Okay, all right, so we've got a list of folks, and so first up is the Help Center. So if we could get the Help Center down here with us. All right. Okay, you ready? Sure. And just so we're going to present y'all with a plaque tonight, but there is an error on these signatures missing, so we'll be hand delivering the correct ones for you tomorrow. Okay. The Help Center for LGBTQ+ Health and Wellness stands as a vital centralized resource for the LGBTQ community in North Texas, offering indispensable health and wellness services. Established in 1994, HELP is a pioneering institution in the field of HIV, AIDS, and STD preventative services. Over the years, it has earned a reputation for delivering cutting-edge, community-based health and education services through innovative, comprehensive, and accessible programming. Among its notable initiatives is a nationally recognized PrEP program, which is available to everyone free of charge, irrespective of income or insurance status, that has provided more than $300 million in life-saving medications free of charge. By eliminating financial and social barriers to preventative care, the Help Center is able to make vitally needed care for at-risk adolescents and adults, HIV-positive individuals, ethnic and sexual minorities, and the LGBTQ+ community as a whole. This certificate is presented to the Help Center in recognition of their commitment to enhancing the LGBTQ plus health and wellness in Fort Worth. All right.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Beck. My name is Kelly Tillman. I serve as the Chief Clinical Officer for Help Center for LGBT Health and Wellness. And with me tonight is our lead clinician, Johnny Ireland, and our Special Events Coordinator, Austin Jennings. Some of you may not know a little bit about Help Center, and so I think it just kind of helps to put it in context what all we actually do within this great and wonderful city. We actually have 2 full-time clinics. We have 1 clinic in Fort Worth and 1 clinic in the city of Arlington. We also provide telehealth services completely across the state of Texas. As Councilwoman Beck said, our primary goal is HIV prevention, which you can see that we are clearly very successful here in the city of Fort Worth, as evidenced by over our 5,000 active patients, 63% of which are minority, 52% are uninsured, and we care for over 200 persons living with HIV. In July, we were fortunate enough to open our own entity-owned pharmacy. Proudly, we can say that our pharmacy holds a capture rate of medication fills of 93%. The national average for medication fills is 63%. So again, exceptional efforts that we're doing for the prevention of HIV and our community members. We also recognized in August of this year that our community also needs free STI clinics for all the community-wide, not just the LGBT population. And we took those on and opened those twice a week in our clinics. And we have served over 500 patients through that as well. So we are just dedicated to the mission of caring for LGBTQIT+ patients and all of our undeserved community members. We thank Councilwoman Beck so very much for her recognition, support, and dedication to our community and our patients. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Stay close. All right. Yes, stay close. We're not done. Okay. All right. Next up, we have Trinity Pride. So if I could get the folks from Trinity Pride down here, please. Just you? Okay, they're coming. All right. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Bivens is requesting a Trinity Pride t-shirt. So if we could deliver a truckload to her office. Yes, I can venture to say that it's probably gonna be a little too hot to get her out there to Trinity Pride, but she will wear the shirt in spirit. Okay. All right, great. Okay, Trinity Pride, Fort Worth's Pride organization since 2019 strives to connect, empower, and bridge the gaps with our greater Fort Worth and LGBTQ+ communities across all generations by providing resources, education, and inclusive spaces that inspire authentic self-expression. Trinity Pride maintains an online directory of resources that caters to the LGBTQ+ community of Fort Worth and Tarrant County. This directory allows individuals to seek inclusive medical care, safe places for socializing, ally businesses, arts and entertainment, and among a variety of other resources. Trinity Pride's work culminates in the annual Pride Festival on Magnolia on the Green in the city's near South Side neighborhood. Trinity Pride Fest's attendance has increased each year with an estimated attendance of over 3,000 people in 2023. And it was real hot. It was real hot last year, so that's a good number. Showed up anyway. That's right. While its origins were grassroots in nature, Trinity Pride Fest has grown through the consistent and increased support of its community representatives, partners, and sponsors. This certificate is presented to Trinity Pride in recognition of their commitment to enhancing Fort Worth's LGBTQ+ community. All right.
Thank you, City Council, for this recognition. Trinity Pride was born out of not only allies looking for a connection to the community, but for us to connect to ourselves outside of just our gay spaces. There were multitudes of allied businesses looking to reach our community, to support our community, and also creating spaces that were safe for our community to venture out of our own spaces. It was also born out of families wanting to be able to support their family members, whether they had an uncle, a cousin, a child, or a grandparent who was queer, and wanted to be able to show support or take them somewhere that was safe. And since our inception, we've had the support of the city, we've had the support of the city council, and we just really are appreciative of this recognition. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we've got Finn's Place. Can you come on down? Hello, hello, and welcome to the podium. All right. I really should have brought some water. There's a lot of reading today in there. We've got a lot of great groups here in the city, and I'm glad we get to recognize them today. Finn's Place is a local nonprofit community center that provides a safe space for transgender and gender diverse people to gather, grow, and flourish. Thank you, Ron. As the only transgender and gender diverse community center in Tarrant County, Finn's Place acts as a safe space, thank you, and a resource hub for the area with a population of over 2 million people. Finn's Place hosts events once a month to celebrate the trans and gender nonconforming TGNC, I practiced that because I was pretty sure I was going to mess it up, community, and also provide their space to groups serving the transgender community free of charge. Finn's Place hosts several reoccurring groups, including a self-defense class, a yoga class, a gender-affirming parents support group, sorry, y'all. You have a great organization. And support groups for both youth and adults. Through close partnerships with over 50 community organizations and businesses, Finn's Place acts as a resource hub for community members to find and access LGBTQ-friendly services in Fort Worth and Tarrant County, including healthcare, social services, and personal care and beauty, home maintenance, retail, and more. In the past year, Finn's Place has helped an estimated amount of 150 unique individuals. Finn's Place aims to build community, create connections, and provide education and support so that when people leave Finn's Place, they are leaving their community center, but not their sense of community. Okay. We got through that. Thank you, Joan. All right. Okay. You're up.
Thank you, Councilwoman Beck, for your continual efforts to ensure that our entire LGBTQ+ community receives the respect and recognition that we all deserve. Every single individual in this room and outside of these chamber walls who is a nonprofit leader, a business owner, an activist, a volunteer, each one of these people deserves to be recognized and celebrated for what they do and their perseverance. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have LGBTQ Saves. Come on down. LGBTQ Saves is an affirming, safe space for LGBTQ youth that exists to fully celebrate the joys of growing up. Founded by Air Force veteran Sharon Herrera, following several publicized suicides of the LGBTQ youth. LGBTQ Saves strives to connect LGBTQ youth to a community that nurtures and validates their existence while providing resources, education, and awareness. They continue to provide a safe and brave space in Fort Worth by hosting in-person and virtual weekly meetings, pride events, and community dinners for the LGBTQ youth and their families. Additionally, they provide resources such as scholarships for the LGBTQ youth and volunteers within their organization. LGBTQ Saves continues to be a pillar in our community by protecting and saving the youth of our community. All right.
Thank you, Elizabeth Beck. I love you. I love you. Thank you for this. It's been, I was told it wouldn't last 2 to 3 years because we're 100% donor funded, but we're about to celebrate our quince next year. I can honestly tell you that we are saving lives. Go to our YouTube channel, you'll see testimonies from families and youth that we've served. I am not a parent, but I am referred to a fairy gay mother to probably over 3,000 kids. So if ever our resources are needed, please know that Sharon Herrera, LGBTQ Saves, will be here for you guys. Thank you.
Okay, if Yesterqueer could come on down. All right. Okay. Yesterqueer is the Tarrant County LGBTQ+ History Project. It's a nonprofit dedicated to documenting, preserving, and sharing local history of the LGBTQ+ community through stories and organized events. These efforts are not only intended to create interest in the LGBTQ+ community for those who remember its history, but as a learning opportunity for future generations of queer youth and allies. Their archive and research are shared to the public across a variety of digital channels, public discussions, and events. Yesterqueer engages the community about Tarrant County's rich LGBTQ+ history by organizing regular activities, including a monthly gay history happy hour, speaking engagements for a variety of organizations. Such organizations include very own City of Fort Worth, the Police Oversight and Monitor Department of the Fort Worth Police Department, Steer Fort Worth, Leadership Fort Worth, Texas Christian University, the University of Texas at Arlington, Texas Wesleyan University, American Airlines, Federal Credit Union, and many others. Founded in 2020 with research dating back as far back as the 1920s, Yesterqueer continues to amplify the voices of Tarrant County's LGBTQ+ past. All right.
Thank you guys so much. We are the new kids on the block, though this work has been going on for quite some time, long before I took it up. We just got our 501c3 just about 2 weeks ago, so delighted about that. But I am very struck by the history, the LGBT history that's happened in this very room. I remember sitting in this council chambers watching our first openly gay city councilman, Joel Burns, share his story about his almost suicide, and helped post that on YouTube, which was relatively new at the time, and became a viral sensation. I was here in 2009 when this council chamber was packed with people after the raid of the Rainbow Lounge. And I was also here last year speaking to city employees about the history, more than 50 years of history of pride in Tarrant County. And I hope to be here next year when we get our Pride Proclamation back, hopefully. Thank you guys so much.
Last, but definitely not least, if we could have Camp Haven down to the podium, who I think might technically be the newest kids on the block. Yes, not that it's a competition, Todd, I promise, but it's one for the history books. Okay, Camp Haven is a safe place that provides opportunities for the LGBTQ plus teens to experience traditional camping and growth during a week-long adventure. Sessions provide immersive, holistic experiences tailored to the life circumstances of the LGBTQ plus youth, in which they explore the natural world and themselves. Mornings and afternoons are structured to allow campers to pursue their interests such as swimming, canoeing, hiking, archery, and so much more. Peer-supported group therapy sessions led by professional counselors are interwoven into the day to emotionally support campers. These sessions provide a safe place for campers to discuss life events, support one another, and build resilience. The atmosphere of Camp Haven is one of empathy, encouragement, sharing, connection, exploration, and learning. Balancing traditional camp fun with personalized, empowering growth allows campers to discover their strength. This certificate is presented to Camp Haven in recognition of their commitment to providing opportunities for LGBTQ plus teens. All right.
Thank you. Probably about a year and a half ago, we were alarmed at the suicide rates within the LGBTQ community. And one of the pieces of data that struck me hard was 60% of LGBTQ youth would like to talk to someone outside their family, but it's not available due to finances or fear. So I called my friend Jeremy and said, hey, we both have camping background, let's fix this. So we have spent the last year and a half fundraising, talking to everybody, many of you in this room, how we could do this camp. And a week and a half ago, we brought 43 teens into our camp. Yes, thank you. Some of them here tonight, but we brought 43 together, and I tell you, it was a beautiful experience where they got to feel the healing of a hike or playing or doing archery or fishing or hiking, but they got to sit with a licensed professional counselor for an hour a day, and they got the chance to be with 43 other youth and adults who loved them and cared about them and listened to them and heard them. I knew we were successful when one of our campers on the last day said, you know what? No matter what room I go into here for the first time in my life, I feel safe. So thank you for this. And here's to next year, which we've already booked.
All right. As we, I'm going to turn the microphone over to my colleague, Councilmember Nettles, who'd like to say a few words as folks start to assemble. When he's done, if we can assemble for a group picture. But you heard a lot of folks thank me tonight, but I don't think it would be appropriate if we didn't also thank all of those council members and the mayor who stood down here in solidarity with you and whose signatures are affixed to those certificates, because I think that's important. And I want you to know that a majority of your council is down here with you this evening. And so remember that in Fort Worth, y'all means all, and we are proud to have you as members of our community.
Okay. I think we're going to take a big picture of all these that are here today. I just wanted to, you kind of stole a little bit of my thunder, but I wanted to personally thank the mayor for supporting tonight. And I also want to thank Felipe for being here and also being supportive of Pride Month each and every year, helping submit these proclamations. And although I'm disappointed that we didn't have a proclamation tonight, I think, you know, sometimes bringing each individual group up here and reading off what they do individually, I think we won tonight. And I think you won tonight. So although, and so I want you to know, there was a quote that was said to me a couple of months ago that says, there's more for you than against you. And so we are here to support you in the city of Fort Worth, and I wanted you to know that from us. And I want you to know that Pride Month is not over. We have another council meeting. It's a day council meeting. So we can figure out how we get to some type of consensus for a proclamation. We still have time. So thank you guys for being here. And y'all all come on down and let's take a picture. And I believe Elizabeth has some pride mollies for you.
If you are a member of the LGBTQ community, if you are an ally that came here this evening to be supportive, I would love to have you, each and every one of you, down here in a photograph.
Always the back.
I know, always.
I always know I'm the back. Every year. I'll see you.
What's up? You need to go to the front.
Next will be items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda.
We have two items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda. The first one is MNC 24-0475, and the second is MNC 24-0476.
Items to be continued or withdrawn by staff.
And there are no items to be continued or withdrawn by staff.
Mayor, before we get to the approval of the consent agenda as amended, we have one speaker on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Jeanette. Our speaker is Adrian Smith.
Adrian Smith, I am one with the people. MMC 24-0463. Wasn't there a previous discussion regarding the Fort Worth Police Department use of patrol vehicles for personal means? Has anyone sought an adequate account for the current conditions of patrol cycles that are available within the Fort Worth PD fleet? $81,000 for renewals at $285,000. 0469. Who would have thought the cost of tires could be so expensive? More wasteful spending, if you ask me. Shame on the property management department and shame on this council for causing more undue burden on taxpayers. A $2 million price tag plus 4 renewals, totaling starting at $2 million plus. 0472. An increase in the contract of $1,750,000 to Napa Auto Parts Management and Supply Services. For services to this city, I'm sure no one on this council has asked or has an explanation for. 0461, a taxpayer cost of $40 million when it's all said and done. And again, I'm sure no one on this dais has rightfully vetted what's going on with this or has an explanation for what this is for. 0496, although the Meadowbrook Golf Course is located within Council District 11, you do know ARPA funds were not earmarked for this specific purpose. It's to be understood that the city It is to be understood that the city is in a rush to use all allocated funding by the 2026 deadline. However, reading is fundamental. And it's apparent that individuals didn't read the fine print of what the federal funds were initially intended for. 0499, more waste for spending as it relates to the new city hall. Considering the electricity stays on 24 hours, 365 days yearly, I'm looking forward to a freedom of information request as it relates to the utility bill that will be at the taxpayer's expense. 0520, another lawsuit that's currently in ongoing litigation and more taxpayer money is being allocated to it. 0525, again, why are we using federal funds towards something that already has taxpayer money invested within it? The Meadowbrook Golf Course should not have ARPA funds designated to it. And before I take my seat, as always, I want to give people the dollar amount that we're going to be voting on tonight, the increases, the continuations, et cetera, 90 million plus. I dare anyone to challenge me on those numbers. Thank you.
Council, that's the last of our consent agenda speakers. I can entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please vote.
Oh.
Michael, I don't think yours picked up. You want to try again? Okay, he's a yes. Thank you. Motion carries.
Next will be M&C 24-0475. And Mayor, I believe that was pulled so that council members Crane and Williams could recuse.
Thank you. Councilmember Crane and Williams, whoever wants to go first on that item.
Go ahead, Jared. Yeah, just recusing due to my employment with the Tanner Food Bank, and all of my paperwork is on file with the city secretary.
And I'll be recusing myself due to my wife's employment at Child Care Associates, and my paperwork's on file as well.
Council, any other discussion? If not, I can entertain a motion. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next is M&C 24-0476. And that was pulled for Councilmember Crane to recuse.
Councilmember Crane.
Yes, and in abundance of caution, the city secretary's office or city attorney's office has suggested I recuse myself from this vote due to my wife's employment at Child Care Associates. My paperwork's on file as well.
Can entertain a motion, council?
I enthusiastically move for approval on this item, and if they were looking for a letter of support, I forgot it, but I'm good with it.
Wonderful. We're very excited.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second, council. Please vote. And Councilor Martinez says yes. Motion carries.
Next will be announcements by city council members, including approval of ceremonial travel if needed.
Assuming Councilmember Flores has a few, I'm just going to go down the line. I don't have a list in front of me. Go ahead, Carlos.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, first slide. Recently, I joined Annette Landeros of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, William Huron of Artes de la Rosa, and Jared Howard for the Fort Worth Forum. This is a speakers panel that we have periodically. Conversations differ. This one was about the vibrant culture that is the North Side area, from its historical roots to its passionate community. We covered what makes up this community in the essence, insights, initiatives, goals, aspirations, placemaking, and all that comes with making an area. So appreciation to all who attended and had a wonderful discourse over that. Next slide, please. All right, the future is here. Black Buffalo 3D Corporation provided us with a peek at the future of construction, 3D printing a house. The Loma design, it's a minimalistic approach to making homes from walls, reinforcement of those walls, structural 3D construction, I could geek on, but I won't. But it was pretty interesting to see. And again, you know, peek into future construction methods. Next slide, please. All right, several of us attended the 95th Annual Memorial Day service at Mount Olivet. That was moderated by City Council Member Martinez and also Lieutenant Colonel Jungus Jordan, formerly of this council, retired. We heard inspirational messages from several that were there and present. And again, a proclamation by the City of Fort Worth was presented by our District 11 council member. Next slide, please. All right, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony at the new Marine Creek Park in District 2. And who doesn't like a brand new park? So community support built this park, and staff helped along the way. It was a long process, but they got it done. So appreciation to them and to the community for coming out and supporting this effort. Special notation, TCU Nursing, Ill Mountain Saginaw ISD, Marine Creek Hills HOA was also present, Northwest Alliance members. Thanks to the Landscape Alliance, Park Hill Trail, 2L Construction, and thanks to Council Members Hill and Crane, who also joined me. Next slide, please. All right, help kick off the historic Northside District Open House Zoning Workshop. We had representatives from city staff there, along with Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And again, the purpose of this workshop is to provide just that, a little insight, little one-on-one basics of zoning and how that works, how it impacts our community from neighborhood conservation, and how our processes work. So thanks to all who attended. Next slide, please. All right, more big things happening in the Stockyards. Attended a press conference at the Countdown Coliseum. Visit Fort Worth was there present, along with Fort Worth Sports Commission. And we announced that the Bulls, Bands, and Barrels finals are going to be in Fort Worth again in August, bringing together a really innovative mix of rodeo and live music fans. So that fits perfectly within the Fort Worth brand. Happy to welcome them in our community and look forward to their growing success here in Fort Worth. Next slide. All right, we had a Fort Worth Police Department Northwest Division Community Forum recently at Artes de la Rosa. There at the Rose Marine Theater, participated in that panel along with our newly minted Commander Molina and also members of the police command staff, so appreciate them being there, having nice direct contact with our community members, not just from the north side, but even areas across the city, so appreciate everyone who came out. Thank you to the Fort Worth Police Department, and also thank you to Doc Kent, our crime control prevention specialist. Next slide, please. All right. This is where my job gets fun. I joined my fellow judges at Trey's Chowdown for the 2024 Taco Throwdown. And yes, I did throw down a lot of tacos, it probably shows. But held there at River Ranch, I was up to the challenge, and it supported a great, wonderful effort, you know, to support the Brotherhood for the Fallen. Was joined there by my fellow council member, Charlie Larsdorf. And we had a lot of tacos, Charlie. I think I can speak for you too, right? Yeah, so only a few can prevail. So, you know, there were a lot of winners in the traditional category and the non-traditional category. First place was Trumpo, and in the non-traditional category, first place was Pantry on Magnolia, a local favorite. All right, now I have announcements. We have our spring open house. We had to reschedule that due to weather. Now it's happening Thursday, June 13th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Northside Community Center. So hope to see you all there. Come out and get great information about our city programs, services, and current projects going around District 2 in the city. Next slide, please. Juneteenth is upon us. So as it is traditional in the far greater Northside historical NA neighborhood, we will celebrate with a parade departing from Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church located at 2823 North Houston Street, starting at 10 p.m. And then that leads into Lincoln Park. We're gonna have a big celebration there where there's gonna be great food, barbecue, music, presentations. The North Tri-Ethnic Community Center staff will also be there to provide children's activities in the bounce house. There'll be a volleyball tournament, I tell you, which is kind of new, and also a softball tournament and flag football. So swing out there, come visit us, have a great time. Encourage you to bring your family as well. And one more. Okay, Marine Creek Ranch HOA is having a great Light Up the Lake fireworks show. That's starting at June 29th from 5:30 to 10 p.m. It's a wonderful show. It's made by the same company that does the city fireworks presentation. That's at 5403 Paloma Blanca Drive in Fort Worth. Hope to see you out there. Y'all are welcome. So we're going to have a lot of things going on: face painting, balloon artists, fireworks at dark, water bounce houses, mechanical bull. That's a new one, mechanical bull. Let's see, bubble truck, stuff a push with DJ Justin. Don't know what that is exactly. A Fort Worth Mounted Patrol, Air One will do a flyover, food available for purchase. Last announcement. So neither of those this summer. The next one is going to be July 6th there at the historic Marine Park in the North Side area, full day of celebrating parade, block parties, and the headliner is a local favorite, Latin Express. That's at 303 Northwest 20th Street in Fort Worth. Hope to see you there, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Bivens, I think you're up next.
I will read fast before my alarm goes off again.
Yeah, that's what it was? I couldn't
Yeah,
figure-
I didn't
okay.
have enough food. So, sorry, Elizabeth, that's why I was detained. Let me tell you what happened in District 5 recently. All of you are probably familiar about construction taking place along 820. If you touch 820, you know that there's work on it. In my part of town, it's called the Southeast Connector Project. And every idea and suggestion we've given to TxDOT and their contractors, they have done. This is a gathering that we held at, let's see, Good Shepherd Baptist Church in Southeast Fort Worth. The next one will be held in Handley. And if your community is interested in having the actual people doing the work come to your neighborhood, let me know. I'll put you in touch with Jay. We had a great turnout. Next slide, please. We had a party at the brand-new City Hall. That brand-new City Hall hosts Class A auction office space, which is the envy of everywhere because it means that more than government's going on there. But the National League of Cities is celebrating its 100th anniversary. And so they are making the rounds throughout the nation, touring 100 cities, and we got on the list for Fort Worth, and this is a proclamation that we were able to present to them. Special guests for us were the Hispanic Chamber of Fort Worth, along with the leadership and the board, because they got a grant from NLC more than a year ago, thanks to Councilmember Michael Crane, who connected them to NLC. And so they rode in here on a big old motorhome, kind of raggedy on the inside, but it looked okay on the outside for the photograph. Check out my Facebook page if you want to see what it looks like. And the mayor was there. We had fun. We really did. But yeah, I won't talk about the inside anymore. Okay, next slide. When I got elected in 2013, I got very familiar with the community of Mosier Valley, and that's where the first freed slaves settled in Texas. There was a colored school because schools were segregated then, and a lot of weeds were where the school had been. Some people thought the actual school building was still there. That's just how overgrown and neglected that property had been. Well, it turns out the school wasn't there. It's a beauty salon somewhere, but where the school was, we have a park. And so we were able to meet with the residents of Mosier Valley, descendants, heirs, and others over the weekend to get their ideas for what should be there. And so this was a shout out to all the people who showed up in Mosier Valley Park Saturday, telling us what should be there. Some of those famous heirs are Barbary Sanders and a lot of other people who I've gotten to know through the years. So thank you, Mosier Valley Park. Thank you, City of Fort Worth, for putting money in this park, which will be on the touring circuit once people know what really happened there. And the next slide, which should be the final, there are some folk who left Mosier Valley Park and joined me at UT Arlington's Research Institute. We had a Lego training on zoning. And when you deal with Legos in zoning, it's a national way to train people in zoning, but it takes special people to do it. And along with me this weekend, I had, let's see, there's Don and Wanda. We had fun. They could have taught it, but it was a wonderful turnout. And what you get a chance to see is how tolerant people are not, because there are some people who say apartments nowhere, never, no how. Those people hold on to the Legos with clenched fists. But it ended up no bloodshed. Some words were exchanged, but people learned how to do zoning. And I think that's all I have. Yes.
Councilmember Hill.
Okay, so on May 20th, we held a District 7 community walk at Arrow S Park in Lake Worth. I'd like to thank the community for coming out to join me. During this event, we were able to meet one-on-one with many of our community members. I would like to thank the Parks Recreation Department for making sure the area was pristine for all to enjoy. Y'all really did a great job cleaning it up before we got there. Other departments that were there to support this event were the Northwest Division Commander, Crime Prevention Specialist, NPOs, the West Division Crime Prevention Specialist, the Fort Worth Mounted Patrol, Fort Worth PD Community Safety Partnership, and a special thank you to the police department for being so well represented and taking the time to come out, and we really had a great time. Lastly, I'd like to thank the Lake Worth Marshals for displaying their new boat and being on hand to talk to residents, particularly those that live around the lake, about their concerns, the Community Engagement Department, graffiti abatement, and the Make Fort Worth Beautiful teams. In addition, we had Animal Care and Control out, and they had 3 puppies I was trying to get adopted. We almost did, but they're still available if anybody's interested. And I could not have such a successful event without the support of all those departments. So I really appreciate it. And again, Jim, I know you were there, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come out as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Nettles.
That's not me. So this is Purpose Summer Camp. We have about 30 youths that are involved in that. And in these slides, you see some of it is at Reby Carey Library. Go to the next slide and maybe there. Okay, I was able to go to the library today that was originally in District 8, Jeanette, and now in District 11. And so I don't know if the library director is here. Okay, I just really want to give kudos to the director and to the program director that's at Reba Carey. We reached out yesterday after 4 o'clock, and she responded and said, yeah, bring the kiddos over. And so I really want to tell you, you guys are doing a fantastic, Jess, they're doing a fantastic job. And so they was able to do arts and craft, scavenger hunt. We had kids that wanted library cards. So we was giving IDs and stuff. It was pretty wow. So thank you guys for that. Fort Worth is doing a great job. Next slide. Next level Cosmo Camp started with Cece the Great. I dropped off my little princess, Miss Christiana, today. It was wonderful. They're doing a wonderful job as well, doing entrepreneurship. They'll be here the last Tuesday. And they're gonna do some braiding, live braiding while I recognize them. So there's an artist that's a part of the camp that's gonna draw a portrait of a female, and then they're gonna attach hair to the art. So it'll be pretty cool. Next slide. Dr. Hernandez retired after 24 years. I didn't get an opportunity to go because I was at another event with Michael Crane today this morning at 8:30. Can y'all believe I made that? And so I was unable to make that 8:30, couldn't do both of them. And so Mr. Brandon Rogers, who's a principal at Trimble Tech, presented the award to this fantastic lady who has been giving so much to the Poly High School area. And so we wanted to congratulate her. Next slide. Panel discussion for Journey Forward Gun Violence. We was with VIP Fort Worth. Great conversation, really still trying to cut down gun violence. And although violence is down in our city, we still have work to do. And so you see Melinda Hamilton there, Rodney McIntosh, and others at Pastor Emerson Church. Next slide, please. Once again, every year I go and support our graduating seniors in ODY, Poly High School, Everman High School, Crowley, and North Crowley. And so I was there with ODY graduation with Trustee Wallace Bridges. Phenomenal kids, so much future. Next slide. Save the date. We have Saturday, August the 10th from 9 a.m. to noon. We're working with the William McDonald YMCA to do back to school as well as community in the court. So if you have warrants, please come out. Also come get some free school supplies. We have a fantastic city secretary that always give out so many school supplies and stays the whole time. And so thank you guys. We're looking forward to that again. Next slide. Okay.
Councilmember Beck.
Happy Pride. I appreciate all of y'all sticking with us as we got the opportunity to recognize so many really important groups in our city. Okay, if you had not heard me talking about it for the last 2 months, now I get to tell you about it. We officially cut the ribbon of Forest Park Pool. I joined there by Mayor Parker, Councilman Nettles, Alan Blaylock joined us as well, although I don't think he's in that picture. But we got you in we've got you in the video, and that's really all that matters. And Jeanette Martinez. And so with that, if City Sec could cue up that video.
This is a special occasion in this community. It's like Walt Disney. If you can dream it, you can do it.
I think the city of Fort Worth really sold you on what the vision was, and these are essential city services. And I believe this pool is just as important as a fire station or police station, because really it's about community and bringing people together. I mean, we listened, we heard what you wanted, and we fought for it. The work that you did didn't just help this pool here in District 9, but it helped other pools across the city.
Right. So the pool is officially opened for business. So I encourage you all to take some time to go out there and cool off between noon and 6 p.m. For the rest of the summer. Next slide. I really appreciate everybody from the city, Fort Worth Fire Department, Fort Worth Police Department that came out and participated in Carry the Load rally, which is part of the national relay done over Memorial Day weekend to recognize fallen veterans and first responders. And a huge shout out to members of our Fort Worth Fire Department who did the almost 4-mile walk in full gear. And I can tell you it was blistering hot that day. I don't know how they did it. So thanks to them for coming out. Next up. The Fort Worth Zoo opened their new Exploration and Learning Center, and we had the opportunity to go check that new facility out, and it allows the zoo to expand their camp program. So get your kiddos in there. And Councilmember Martinez and I got to interact with a couple of animals during that particular visit, and one of those was a beautiful macaw. Next slide. Okay, had the opportunity to speak at the Near South Side Small Business Council. Appreciate everybody that was able to come out for that, and we were able to give a briefing on what the City of Fort Worth and Fort Worth Police Department are doing to help keep our entertainment districts safe. Next slide. All right, future events. You heard a lot about Pride today and Trinity Pride, and it is coming up June 15th. That is this Saturday from 6 to 10 p.m. Hopefully it will not be as hot this year. And Gina, I will make sure you get a t-shirt or two. There's free parking. Pets are allowed. If you don't have a pet and you'd like to bring a pet, you can stop by our animal control and care facility and pick one up and bring it out there with you. How's that? We got Macy's got 3 puppies that she's trying to find homes for. So bring them to Pride. More than that. Yeah. Next slide. Okay, the LGBTQ Saves Youth Picnic is the following Saturday, June 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Trinity Park Pavilion by the Dream Park. I hope you will join us out there. Next slide. Okay, for the anglers in the room, or if you'd like to just go watch a bunch of kids learn how to fish, our Greenbrier Community Center will be having the Osprey Bass Anglers Youth Fishing Tournament on June 15th. Next slide. June 21st and June 22nd, the Fort Worth, the Spotlight Cast and Crew will be performing Little Mermaid at Fort Worth Country Day. Next slide. Okay, Celebrity Kickball Tournament, June 22nd, 5 p.m. at All Saints School. I hope you will join me out there and my colleague, Chris Nettles, once again to watch my team absolutely obliterate his kickball team once again for the 2nd year in a row. I'm calling it now. Look, hope you can all make it out there. It really is a great cause. You'll see us get to talk a lot of noise back and forth to each other, but it goes to Tough Stars Give Back, and so we want to make sure we support that great organization. Next slide. Okay, we have a really great NPO in the South Hills neighborhood, and he has put together a meet and greet at Kellis Park, and it is also June. Listen, if y'all want to follow me around June 22nd, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be everywhere. It'll be from 9 to noon, and I hope you can join us out there, and that is all I've got.
Council, I believe that's the last of our announcements.
Mayor and Council, next will be speakers on the non-consent agenda items, and we have a number of them.
We do, and I've lost my list. There it is. Okay. Oh, nope, that's my comment card. Hold on just a second. Got it. Okay. Our first is Dan Hayes, followed by Rick Herring.
Good evening. My name is Dan Hayes, and I live in District 11. A number of us are here tonight to enthusiastically support the adoption of the Gateway Park Master Plan. Others will speak about the park, but I want to focus on what is outside the park. First, some context. According to the Placer.ai report on Gateway Park, there are 600,000 annual visits to the park, making it the 17th most visited park-related attraction in Texas out of 250 venues. Gateway shares a top 20 spot with attractions like Fair Park in Dallas, Hemisphere Park in San Antonio, the Fort Worth Zoo, and the Botanic Gardens. With that as context, I wanted to briefly focus on the vacant private park property along Beach Street and East First Street shown on this map. After successfully fighting off a terrible warehouse zoning case right outside the park 2 years ago, a group of us worked with the Frost family, which owns the property, to see how we could help them realize a sale of their land for a more appropriate use. With the city's help, we were able to involve the Urban Land Institute. They conducted a 3-day technical assistance panel in November 2022 to vision what might be built on that would be a symbiotic use and would further cement Gateway Park as a destination in the city. Out of that came some good concepts, but so far they are just that. These include a mixed-use, trail-adjacent development, an ownership-oriented residential development, a sports tourism complex, or using the space for open space or conservation. The Frost brothers are not developers, and based on their age, time is a major factor in finding a proper buyer for their land, which is currently for sale. That includes a portion still zoned J medium industrial right next to the park entrance, which if developed as such would be disastrous for the efforts now underway to improve this park. To bring this into focus, this is the park's main entrance. The solid row of greenery on the far left is outside the park. I drew a yellow line to show the edge of the park. Imagine instead of a peaceful entry and a sense of place, you see an inappropriate use literally 50 feet from the entrance of this great park. I have no idea what the city could do to help assist in getting this property in the hands of someone who could develop it, or if the city would consider this property for its open space conservation plan. Looking again at the map, much of this property is located in a high priority area for conservation, or maybe an interested developer is watching this council meeting right now. I do know that the ULI plan should not sit on the shelf to gather dust and that we could use some help in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Our next speaker is Rick Herring. Rick will be followed by Letitia Wilburn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, City staff. Rick Herring, 1801 Bolton Street in Riverside. There are several of us here tonight to speak to you about the Gateway Park Master Plan, which is under consideration by Council tonight, and we look forward to your vote on that. But Gateway Park, at 791 acres with over 600,000 annual visitors, is without question the only truly metropolitan park in Fort Worth. Two things that I particularly like about the master plan you're going to be voting on is that the first phase of construction will begin in the area west of Beach Street, which is called the Riverside Oxbow section. And also it's going to provide in that section where construction will begin a pedestrian access to one of the smaller Riverside neighborhoods that's immediately north of that area. And the folks in that neighborhood have no access to a neighborhood park or any type of park facility. So that pedestrian access will be wonderful for them. Richard Zavala stated to you all in his presentation on May 7th at City Council work session that of the 300 parks and 13,000 acres in the Fort Worth Park system, there are what he termed the big four. And those are the Botanic Garden, the Fort Worth Nature Center, the zoo, and Gateway Park. I wholeheartedly agree with that last addition that he included. And what those of us who love and advocate for Gateway Park hope that you take his words to heart and help make Gateway Park truly one of the crown jewels in the Fort Worth park system. This really will require a serious and concerted paradigm shift, if you'll allow me to use that term, on the part of you all, the city council, city staff, other city leadership and stakeholders, so that Gateway Park is thought of as truly the metropolitan park of Fort Worth, the central park of Fort Worth, and not just an east side neighborhood park. And that it will be worthy of the investment it'll take to implement and fully complete this ambitious and very worthwhile plan that you all are going to be considering tonight. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Rick. Next is Letitia Wilburn, followed by Tina James.
Good evening. First, I want to give my condolences to Gina Bivens in the loss of your brother. I'm so sorry for your loss. Secondly, I want to thank Jeanette Martinez for taking the time to come to my backyard to see the sights and smell the smell. I know the day that she was there, she could actually smell the smell that was in the air. But I wanted to talk about some of the consequences of having industrial behind homes. You have the loss of your family, your property use, the loss of your property value. You have the noise, and the noise can get so loud that inside my home, it actually knocks pictures off my wall. So it makes my home vibrate. So there's vibrations from these trucks. You have the heat, and I know I've told you guys about my yard being 120 degrees at 1 o'clock p.m., August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of 2023. You have safety issues. Those trucks back up to my home, and I know I've sent you guys videos where they're dusting things out of the back of the trucks. The back of the beds are open. Let's just say you get a curious kid that scales that fence and get inside of that bed or get under those trucks. It's just a blessing that it has not happened thus far. The water runs off into your property. They wash the trucks 24 hours a day, even though they've been told not to wash the trucks. And they create health issues. So we have a high majority of cancers in our community. According to the 2022 census, there are 6,977 residents who live in Echo Heights, 52.8% Hispanic, 27% African American. But the only thing in this community besides the residents are one school, which is on 4th ISD Chopping Block, one park, one convenience store, and it borders, some convenience stores border the neighborhood. But this community has over 200 industries. So that's like living in a small town that is industry. That's what this community have to deal with. And even though I'm happy to say I approve of this change, I still think that there should be more done because much of this community, including what you all call the Sun Valley PID, was Echo Heights, and you took homes from that part of the community to put in industry there. As a result, we have a community that is sick and one that is dying, but I do think that this is a step in the right direction to approve this. And I hope that the city learns from this and never do this to any other citizens in Fort Worth. But thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Tina James, followed by Wanda Conlon.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to say that I'm actually in support of changing the zoning that Ms. T just spoke of, but I would like to ask one question. I heard Mr. Dan make a statement about the Gateway Park and how they fought off a commercial company, industrial company from putting it next to the park. And I'd like to know, how can we do that? Because we've been fighting for a long time over the Echo Heights area to prevent the commercial companies, industrial companies from coming in our community. And we have a park called Prairie Dog Park, which is a historical park, basically. But we're still fighting for the same situation that we've been going over and over for. We have an elementary school that sits right beside it as well as residential homes in the area. So I'm actually going to ask him that question, what we need to do. But again, we'd like to thank y'all for at least moving in the right direction for allowing us to change those zonings for that area. And again, thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Wanda Conlon, followed by Richard Perez.
Mayor and council members, optimist that I am, I'm assuming ahead of time that you are going to embrace this master plan for the park and that we're going to move into the implementation phase. And old zoning commissioner that I am, I want you to be sure that you look at the zoning that's around this major, wonderful park. There's some old industrial zoning that's around there. And I'd like for you to clean that up so that we can have residential and zoning that serves the residential portion that I want to be around there. Be sure that we have easy access for people. Parks need people and people need parks. And let's get the people in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda. Our next speaker is Richard Perez, followed by Jim Schirnbeck.
I'm Richard Perez, resident of Northside, 1405 North Commerce Street, also a member of the Northside Neighborhood Association and Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities. I'm here to support the passing of the resolution for the rezoning of that property on Parker Henderson from I industrial to residential. I moved here from West Texas a few years ago, and it's a place called Big Lake, Texas, very rural area. Friendly people, they help you out. And the town itself has next to no zoning or very lenient. You'll see a house next to a trailer, pepper jacks in the city, oil wells, gas wells, the smell of sulfur. But that's a rural town, right? Fort Worth is, to my knowledge, suburban, urban. We're a more modern city. But we have these little areas like Echo Heights where you see a lot of this industrialization. And it's mostly contained, but there's a lot of it out there and it impacts the community there. It seems to, in this case, it jumped Parker Henderson Road, which is somewhat of a buffer line there with that trucking company behind Miss T. Wilburn's house. If you look at that place from the backside of that trucking company, it's very obtrusive into the neighborhood. Aside from the pollution, if you look in the backyards, of course, we've all seen the media, it's an eyesore. It's kind of threatening, intimidating. It's very inconsiderate, and it has been there for a long time. So I want to also voice my support for that resolution, for that zoning change, to reinforce that buffer between industry and that resident, those 4 or 5 homes there, as well as the community there, so that we don't have an issue like that, any more industrialization next to those homes or the threat of it, and change the zoning. And I would also like to commend Councilman Martinez for support on this issue and recommend that further support for this vote come to full fruition for that zoning change. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jim Schoenbeck, followed by Caleb Roberts.
Howdy, everybody. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm here to also speak about the Parker Henderson resolution and in support of it. It's welcome and long overdue. I'm speaking on behalf of Downwinders at Risk, where I'm a staffer, and also the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities, a more or less recent group that's come together to look at this subject matter from a neighborhood perspective and also at a citywide scale with the comprehensive plan. I walked through this neighborhood with Richard, as a matter of fact, and I know some of you have as well. And this is a residential neighborhood that still has the layout of a neighborhood, but has been turned into an industrial park with double trailer 18-wheelers taking sharp turns and causing traffic problems, besides the obvious diesel pollution problems that are also caused in various other industries in the area. While walking around, we found a monitoring well that nobody knew was out there. Somebody had put in, for an obvious reason, some kind of underground plume that we haven't been able to research or know about yet. But there's all kinds of things lurking in that neighborhood that weren't there when it was a residential community. There is two matters that I'd also like to address. One is an outstanding invitation for city staff to come out to Echo Heights and host a town hall on environmental justice and the comprehensive plan. That invitation was sent by the coalition some time ago, and they've not gotten a response to that, and wondering if it's gotten lost in the mail or if the city's going to respond in any way to that. And then the second thing is the resolution tonight on the comprehensive plan itself. It's a good resolution, but nowhere does it mention environmental justice, which, if everybody were to be honest at that dais tonight, that is the primary issue that's caused so much controversy about this comprehensive plan. To not include that in the resolution is short-sighted, I believe. On the other hand, Dallas just got through releasing its Forward Dallas iteration, the last version, before it goes to the Planning Commission. It has a whole section on environmental justice and uses metrics like adjacency to industrial uses as a way to track progress on whether you're reaching the goals that they have set up now in Forward Dallas. The contrast could not be sharper, and I would just urge you to please include environmental justice in your comprehensive plan. It would not be a comprehensive plan for the 21st century if it didn't include this subject. You're doing very well in terms of rolling back individual tracks in Echo Heights, but there are other neighborhoods that need help as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Caleb Roberts, followed by Bill Swinson.
Mr. Roberts.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Caleb Roberts, Executive Director of Downwinders at Risk. I'm speaking on behalf and support of the rezoning of the Parker Henderson area as well. I want to first thank Councilwoman Martinez for her work on this, and the City Council to continue doing, changing the zoning in these places that we already know has a long history of needing change. And I've spoken at council before about these changes needing to occur. So we've been critical of where the city is, and I do want to say, this is in line with exactly what we want with changing these areas to areas that are good for communities and not just places that are antagonistic towards the community. But I also want to echo what Jim talked about in terms of EJ in total. This is a good step, but we would like to see the city take a more proactive approach to environmental justice. There are still a lot of places where we fail to mention environmental justice. There's still a overall push to clean up the entire community and not just specific parcels. So there is more work to be done. We like the direction that it is moving now, but we are still working to make sure that EJ is a term that is used widespread across the city, and to make sure that it's affected in the comprehensive plan. And I just think there is more work to do because there are other places throughout Fort Worth that need this kind of help. And when you really look into it, a lot of these things are really preventing communities from growing the way they want, from people to live out the lives that they want to live. And that's something we will keep fighting for and making sure it's in front of your eyes. And we hope that starting with this decision and other decisions, that we will build up Fort Worth to really be leaders on environmental justice. Thank you.
Bill will be followed by Martasha James. Let's see, Martasha.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. My name is Bill Schwinson. I live at 501 Green River Trail, which is in District 5 in the White Lake Hills neighborhood, which is adjacent to the eastern boundary of Gateway Park. You are going to hear a lot about the park tonight, and you've already heard quite a bit already. And I promise to keep my remarks brief. Tonight, you are hopefully going to vote to adopt the revised master plan for Gateway Park, and that you will shortly include an appropriate funding level in this year's bond election to begin the transformation of the park into a recreational and economic generator for the entire city. Along with the long-awaited full development of Gateway, there is land adjacent to the park property that has been owned for generations by the Bowen and Frost families. Land whose usage and or development will greatly impact this park for better or worse, no matter how many amenities the fully developed Gateway Park has to offer. Most of this land is zoned for either light industrial or residential development, and the proper development of this property will be integral to the future success of the entire Gateway Park area and neighborhood. Although this land is not, and most probably never will be, within the park boundaries, its future usage will play a large role in determining the long-term success of the park as a successful recreational area and economic generator. In my opinion, this land owned by the Bowen and Frost families needs to be protected, and I am suggesting that one effective way to do that would be for the City of Fort Worth to include this acreage in its open space conservation program. The land could be held until the full development of Gateway Park is at such a stage where quality and residential and supporting usages are economically feasible for private investors. Some of the land may remain as open space, but hopefully the sale and or lease of the developed acreage would generate profits that could be used to support future additions to the open space conservation program. In closing, my point to you tonight is to please remember now and in the future that the park and the Bowen Frost properties do not exist in a vacuum. They are tied together geographically, and the success of one will be affected in a major way by the development of the other. If both the park and the Bowen Frost properties are developed to their full potential, the sky really is the limit for the future success of the entire Gateway Park area. I appreciate your service to our city, and thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Bill. Our next speaker is Martasha James, followed by Estella Williams.
Hello, everyone. My name is Martasha James. And first off, I'd like to say just thank you for hearing us out. The number of times we've been down here, we are finally taking the right turn. Thank you for moving forward with this. However, a thing that is still a concern, and a lot of our community members have written in favor of this decision. But I would like to mention, recently I gave my daughter a birthday party for her first birthday, and I wanted to celebrate it at home. However, it was not able to be celebrated at home due to the fact that we had a bunch of fumes in the backyard from the trucks and, can you hear me? Okay, from the trucks and whatnot. And it disturbed our guests and also us. I don't know who is to say that this issue wasn't developed by the fumes or the toxicity of the companies that are already in our area. But I couldn't successfully celebrate my daughter's birthday in the area that I pay property taxes for, and not to mention the property taxes went up due to the businesses around the companies that are in our area. And I would also like to mention how we still have issues with our infrastructure within our area. as well. And the little patchwork that is being done isn't something that's solid or concrete that's able to withhold the trucks and the traffic that is being done within our area, which makes it harder for us as far as commuting through our community itself. And with the construction that is taking place, if we can get something done about the traffic that is developing from the infrastructure or the construction that is taking place for the bridges and whatnot, if you guys could please take a look into that, and we do appreciate you guys, and thank you for your help.
Our next speaker is Stella Williams. There's Mrs. Stella Denseer, and then Stacy Pierce.
I am Stella Williams, president of the Fort Worth Tarrant County branch NAACP. Mayor Parker, and to our council members, good evening to each of you. I'm standing in support of the zoning change for the Echo Heights area, changing it from an industrial to a residential area. I'd like to thank Councilmember Martinez for bringing to the forefront this really critical need for such a change. I have actually witnessed the situations that have occurred in the area, from having people, the residents, putting clothing out on the line and bringing them back in. Originally, they were perhaps white sheets. Bringing them back in, they were brown. This, to me, is an issue concerning environmental conditions. It's also a condition whereby the family members are suffering because they cannot even enjoy their backyards. And so I would definitely say it's a health issue. So I am surely here tonight to say I am hoping that that change will take place. It definitely is one that constitutes environmental health hazards, knowing that there are members who are in that community who have suffered based on some of the things that they have had to experience. I also have seen trucks go through. There are postings saying that the trucks are not even supposed to be entering into certain areas, but yet it's like the signs are not even there. They are not even recognized. And so changing this area, the zoning from industrial to a residential, will certainly do justice for the residents of that community. Thank you, and we look forward to the support that will be provided.
Our next speaker is Stacy Pierce, followed by Bishop Mark Kirkland.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Stacy Pierce, representing Streams and Valleys, 2918 Wingate Street, Fort Worth 76107. So we've heard a lot about community tonight. From our friends in Como, from our LGBTQ plus community. We've even talked about community in relation to a pool. It's so critical. We're number 12, we're growing like crazy. And so let's have a quick timeline, can we? Just a few short years ago, 1849, we started because of a river. Then we had a flood, then we had a ditch, and then we had a commitment by some community leaders who said, you know what, we're better than this, and that is the most important place for our community. And so then, in 1971, we had a vision. Lawrence Halprin, same guy who gave us Gateway Park. So I'm here tonight in support of the adoption and approval of the master plan for Gateway. A few short years later, after planning pretty well, 2 or 3 times, we had Confluence, a plan, a river plan, one that talks about how we come together and make it better every day, all the time. And you know, in the planning process, we talk about things like economic development and flood control and water quality and how we have health and recreation, all of these great things. You know what? Gateway hits every single one of those cylinders. And so now, here we are in 2024. My organization, I'm fortunate to lead, is 55. And you know what? We've got now 125 miles of trails. We've got a half century of progress. And we've got a really ambitious plan for Gateway. And we have people who were there in the beginning who are still here speaking up in support of initiatives like this. I mean, that's commitment. So in not very long, 25 years, Fort Worth's going to be 200. And what are we going to look back and say? What are we going to look back and think that we did today that's going to make a difference in 25, 50, 100 years? The river is all of ours. It's free. Gateway is a major part of the river system. It's so big, and it takes everyone. So Henry Ford said, coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. We have been so successful here. We've come together, we've stayed together. Now, let's keep working together. Let's allocate the resources, let's allocate the time, let's allocate whatever we have to do to make Gateway everyone's park, everyone's legacy, everyone's dream. Thank you.
Our next speaker, well done, Stacy. Our next speaker is Bishop Kirkland, followed by Spencer Dickinson.
I'd like to publicly express my condolences to Mayor Pro Tem Bivens on the demise of her brother Roy, who's my classmate, and again to Councilman Nettles. And I want to say to this diocese, it is extremely important that we see you guys at functions like that, because when our village grieve, we want to see that you grieve with us as well. Some of the lifetime members of our congregation lives on Pecos Street, and that's in Echo Heights. And the traffic and the speed compliance by the trucks, and not just the truck, but some of the neighborhood kids, perhaps some concerns that they're calling me with. If I mention the name Roberts, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilman Nettles, you will be familiar with that name. And there's a group that are longtime members of our congregation that asked me to be here tonight. I want development in our village, but I don't want development that looks like industrialism, factories, or another Dollar General. I'm a 60s babies, and in my opinion, that community has digressed more than it has made progress. Mayor Pro Tem, you fought for Stop 6 for keeping a concrete facility from coming to that area. I want to see Ms. Martinez, and I want to say thank you. But Councilwoman, I want to see that same passion as it relates to this project. I don't know, I'm a John Travolta fan, and I don't know if many of you saw the movie A Civil Action. In the movie A Civil Action, there was a lawsuit brought about because of environmental pollution on the residents of that community. Now, our county commissioners are writing checks every week for all the people who are being murdered in our jails. I would hate to see the city council pull out the checkbook and start using our tax dollars to compensate these families because of the same type of illnesses that are going to be a result of some of the major environmental pollution. So, Ms. Martinez, I stand in agreement with as many who have spoken before me that this is something that we would like to see passed, and we do want development in our village, but we want it to look like it looks in other areas of our city and not all factories, industrialism, and that kind of trash. I'm a biker, and that's my next speech, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. Cliffhanger, okay. Our next speaker is Spencer Dickinson. Spencer is the last of our speakers until we keep moving through zoning.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Parker. I've spoken here before. I am representing the Greater Fort Worth Sierra Club, of which I am a member of the executive committee, and we are advocates of many things, but some of the things are advocates for clean air and clean water. And I am here specifically to put myself forward in support on behalf of the Sierra Club of the resolution to rezone the parcel on Parker Henderson Road, in keeping with a comprehensive plan, as so many have already spoken out on this topic. This action is in keeping with other actions taken by the City Council. I commended the City Council last year on revising the 2023 comprehensive plan to rectify industrial creep into Southeast Fort Worth, and also the redesign of Prairie Dog Park that's going on right now, which is very exciting. And I also would like to commend Councilmember Martinez for putting the resolution forward. So you, the city leaders, are tasked with managing the complexities associated with being the fastest growing city in the country. And economic growth has to be balanced with the personal welfare of all citizens. Economic growth and personal well-being are not mutually exclusive. Of course, you know that. But it does require planning and action. So I would like to ask you to take this action. All citizens of Fort Worth need and deserve clean and safe communities to raise their children. Thank you.
Council, that's the last of our speakers. Jeanette, we can keep moving through the agenda.
The next item is a presentation by staff on the proposed Economic Development Program Agreement with the Fort Worth Heritage Development LLC, with report by Michael Hennig.
Hi, Michael.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. So the purpose of this presentation is to discuss a proposed economic development program agreement with Fort Worth Heritage Development LLC. We do have representatives of the developer here with us this evening. And really what we wanted to do is provide a general overview of the proposed project and the proposed agreement that will facilitate it. And that really begins with a little bit of background. First, by taking a look at the agreement that was approved exactly 10 years ago yesterday. That agreement required the developer to meet certain minimum investment thresholds over 3 major phases of development, topping out at a minimum overall investment of $75 million by the end of 2025. As we sit here today in 2024, the developer has delivered development that is currently assessed at $225 million off of just the first phase of development. So needless to say, they've certainly exceeded expectations, and it can be taken as a case of under-promising and over-delivering. Having met the requirements of that agreement, the developer is currently eligible to receive a remaining 21 annual program grants associated with that agreement, which would provide which are based on 40% of incremental property taxes and 80% of incremental sales taxes off of what they've already delivered. So I want to be clear that those are grants that are already required by the city to be delivered to the developer under the existing agreement. Separately, the city is also participating in the Stockyards TIF. Now, the recent focus has really been on the second major phase of development, which is primarily focused on this site here. This site consists of approximately 17 acres, which just for purposes of comparison is roughly 3 times the size of Mill Alley, which is the site of the first major phase of development. This is a view, as can be seen there today, looking from Stockyards Boulevard toward the south in the direction of Cowtown Coliseum. And as you can see, there's not much there today. In fact, the current assessed value of that property is just over $1.2 million, which means that the city is currently collecting approximately $8,000 in annual property taxes off of that site. And of course, there's no sales tax being generated and no other economic activity taking place on that site. A few years back, the TIF authorized an agreement that would support development of that site, which at that point was proposed to involve approximately $75 million of total investment, and would involve the delivery of 3 Western sports arenas and 2 above-ground parking garages. Now, under the terms of that agreement that had been approved by the TIF board, that would involve a reimbursement of up to $20 million for those improvements. Now, I just want to quickly highlight how much acreage is taken up by those parking garages for reasons that will make a bit more sense here in a moment. What is being proposed today, after having taken a bit more time to consider what additional possibilities there could be for that site, and as the developer has considered whether there might be a higher and better use of that site, a new Phase 2 project is proposed, which would deliver an estimated $219 million in new taxable improvements. And among that would include a minimum 300,000 square feet of new commercial space, 500 hotel rooms and 3 new full-service hotels, and a minimum 295 units of multifamily development. And then, of course, it would also involve quite a bit of additional investment for public spaces, infrastructure, and new amenities. It's going to take quite a bit of work to take that, what is currently a raw site, into what is essentially a sub-district for the stockyards. And what makes all of that possible is the fact that now what is being proposed is to put those garages below grade, to take those garages and put them underground. In doing so, that allows the developer to deliver not only a larger number of overall spaces within the garages, but also to be able to unlock that acreage above it for new development. And in doing so, this gives you a general sense, this is a conceptual rendering of what is being proposed for that site. In addition to just the additional new private development that will be above the garages, you can see just the amount of infrastructure and public spaces that are going to be delivered as part of that overall development. Now, the multifamily component of the project is somewhat separate from the rest due to zoning restrictions that apply to the existing site. And so the multifamily component would actually take place just near Niles City Boulevard, toward the corner of Northeast 23rd Street, where it is currently permitted. Now, the overall challenge in being able to support this project going forward ultimately has to do with just the amount of infrastructure investment that's required to be able to deliver this. And of course, the biggest component of that from a cost standpoint ultimately has to do with the cost of building garages below grade. So typically what you end up seeing when you are building parking garages below the ground is that they will often cost anywhere between 3 to 4 times as much as building a garage above ground. That translates into an estimated cost of approximately $175 million to build those below grade garages, which is about $124 million of a difference over the previous phase 2 garages. Now, of course, additional development produces additional income, and so there's going to be additional ways of supporting that development from the project itself. However, there remains a significant financial gap that is preventing the project from being financially viable. And so to help address that gap and to move the project forward, a proposed public-private partnership is anticipated to be brought before council for consideration that would supersede the existing 380 agreement, replace the previously approved TIF agreement, and would involve the conveyance to the city of those new parking garages once complete. Now, there are a number of requirements that the developer would be held to in order to be able to benefit in any way from this agreement. Just to provide a few overall highlights of those requirements, you can see here that the developer would be required to deliver those minimum components that I just outlined a moment ago by the end of 2032. In doing so, the developer would be required to spend a minimum of $630 million in overall investment toward the total public and private improvements. Of that, a minimum $472 million will be required to be hard costs, and a minimum 15% of total investment would be required to go to BEF companies. Now, again, just for clarity's sake, although there is a significantly higher level of investment in this district, the amount that we're actually anticipating to be subject to property taxes is anticipated to be approximately $219 million. And then, of course, separate from that would be the $175 million value of the underground garages. In order to help facilitate this project, the developer would construct the overall district, the overall improvements that were just outlined, including the parking garages. And then after completion, the developer would convey ownership of the garages over to the city. Again, that's effectively a $175 million value that is estimated to be coming to the city in that transaction. Ultimately, the value of that will be determined by appraisal at that point of conveyance. And as part of that transaction, the city would enter into a lease agreement with the developer for the use of and operation of the garages. That would be a 30-year lease term. And that would also involve purchase and put option at the end of the term of the lease, which would effectively give the city the ability to be able to force the developer to buy the garages back from the city at fair market value at that time. The lease term could be extended by 10 years if both the city and the developer agree to do so, after which the developer will be required to exercise their purchase option, again, at fair market value. The developer would be responsible for all maintenance and operations of the garages during that term. And during the 30-year lease term, the developer would be required to pay to the city an annual lease payment that is based on profit sharing from the operations of the garages. And so the way that that would work would involve the city collecting 100% of net annual parking profits from those garages in order to be able to help support debt service that I'll outline here in a moment that is ultimately going to help support this project. If the city does not need to utilize that full amount, then it would rebate a difference of it, but at all times the city would maintain and receive a minimum of 50% of net parking profits from those garages each year. A minimum of 50% of the spaces must be available for public use, and a minimum 650 spaces will be made available for public use even after the term of the lease to be able to support Cowtown Coliseum operations. Now, there's an additional component of this overall project I think is certainly important to highlight given the recognition earlier this evening to the Fort Worth Herd. There is a set of deliverables that relate to supporting the Cowtown Coliseum, and integrated with that are facilities that will ultimately be used by the Fort Worth Herd as part of their operations. And so it is estimated that that will involve approximately $15 million of improvements that would deliver a new barn structure, new horse stalls, new steer pens, dedicated parking for the herd's operations, and a new covered arena for warm-up of the herd's steers and horses, as well as in support of operations of the Cowtown Coliseum. The developer will convey all or a portion of the new facilities to the city, and lease any property not conveyed for that 30-year term, plus 2 15-year renewal periods for use by the Cowtown Coliseum and the Fort Worth Herd. The city will be responsible for the maintenance costs of those facilities. However, I think it's important to recognize that the city currently covers the maintenance costs of the existing facilities that are being used by the drovers that we saw earlier this evening. Now, provided that the developer meets all of their requirements, the city is proposing to enter into an economic development program agreement that would really be focused on 3 main components. The first being a $126,150,000 purchase of the garages upon completion. Again, we're estimating that the actual cost of building those garages will be $175 million. The payment for those garages will take place approximately 180 days following completion. The city is anticipating issuing a bond in order to help finance that amount. But in this project, as with so many other projects that we propose, the ultimate aim is really to have this project pay for itself. And so ultimately, that financing would be supported by the existing TIF district, as well as 80% of the city's sales tax from the project and from property that's currently subject to that agreement that I outlined earlier, up to 100% of PFZ revenues, and I'll describe what that is here in a moment. But really what that involves is state hotel occupancy taxes, state mixed beverage taxes, and state sales taxes from area hotels in that surrounding district. And then up to 100% of the shared net parking profits, as I just outlined a moment ago. The second major component of these incentives would involve annual grants, annual 380 grants, for the term of the garage lease, which would be based on 40% of new incremental city property taxes, capped at an overall value of $75 million. Now, again, the rates that are being proposed here and those annual grants are effectively what the developer is currently receiving under the existing agreement that is already in effect. The third primary component would involve the city reimbursing up to $15 million of the improvements for the Cowtown Coliseum and for the Fort Worth Herd, which again is anticipated to be funded out of those bond proceeds. Now, I mentioned this PFC. That is a project financing zone. That is a similar mechanism that the city is using today to finance Dickies Arena and the Fort Worth Convention Center. Now, what we are proposing is that in establishing a new project financing zone, the city would be able to support the debt financing that I just outlined by really leveraging some of the state resources that are estimated to be produced within a 3-mile radius of Cowtown Coliseum, but specifically that portion that is highlighted in blue there to the north. So we're not overlapping with any sources of financing that are currently being relied on to support the convention center or Dickies Arena. These are dollars that are really outside of all of that. We're almost there. Now, the left-hand column really is just an overview of the primary deal points I just outlined, but I want to dive into the numbers just a little bit so we can wrap our head around exactly what this overall 30-year deal ends up delivering. Now, I mentioned after completion of the project, the city would be purchasing the garages for approximately $126 million and then reimbursing up to $15 million of the improvements for the Cowtown Coliseum and Fort Worth Herd facilities. So that would ultimately be principal cost of $141 million gross. Since we are anticipating bonding that out and financing that through a bond issuance, when you include the actual cost, the estimated cost of debt service on that, the total cost would be approximately $290 million. Adding in the annual grant payments that are being proposed, the total amount that would be subject to go to the developer in helping to support this project, plus financing costs, would amount to just under $383 million. However, as I mentioned, a very large chunk of that is ultimately being paid for by the net parking profits coming from the garages that will be built by this project. So when you factor that in, the actual cost to the city that will be incurred over time will amount to approximately $146 million gross, or $100 million on a net present value basis. Comparing that against the projected tax revenues that the city is anticipating to get over the 30-year term of that agreement, you can see here along the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, the estimated net tax revenues that will flow to the city, including $100 million of net property taxes, approximately $19 million of net new sales tax, just over $257 million of net new city hotel occupancy taxes, which again, we are relying on in large part to help us finance the convention center and other similar uses. And then additionally, $62 million of state hot taxes through the PFZ will be available to be able to support other qualified projects in the area, ultimately yielding $425 million of net new city taxes after payment of all project support. When you factor in additional net proceeds from the sharing of parking profits from the garages, that goes up to almost $663 million. And when you add in the estimated cost of the estimated value that will be returned to the city once we sell the garage back to the developer, the overall estimated value to the city in doing this deal amounts to approximately $845 million net, or $232 million in today's dollars. So based on that, staff is recommending that the city enter into an economic development program agreement to support the garage purchase up to the $126,150,000 amount, to provide annual grants based on 40% of the incremental city property taxes, and to enter into a 30-year garage lease with purchase and put options, and to reimburse up to $15 million of Cowtown Coliseum and Fort Worth Herd improvements. As part of The next steps, staff would recommend that we amend the existing Economic Development Program Agreement with Fort Worth Heritage Development in order to lift the cap and to direct all of the grants that otherwise would have gone to them under that agreement to help support this project instead. We are anticipating placing an M&C for council consideration at the June 25th council meeting. And we would anticipate then bringing this to the TIF board for consideration in August of this year. And then the establishment of the PFZ with a base year of 2024 would be included as part of that action that City Council would take the 25th. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michael. Councilmember Flores?
Yes, thank you, Michael. I don't have any questions because I am familiar with this and has a lot of moving parts. This proposal is based on a proven framework of the original 380 agreement, which gave us the successful phase one development through that public-private partnership. And that has exceeded, financial expectations, and that's to be noted and commended. The project financing zone that you described, again, will pay for further improvements at the Coliseum, but not just that, also to the Fort Worth Herd, as you pointed out, that we just recognized here on council, so we want them around for another 25 years. The proposal also delivers substantial taxable improvements, right, that the city, can, enjoy, and that provides that future revenue from the parking garages, as you also mentioned. And in particular, the parking garages do resolve an ongoing challenge that we have in the stockyards right now. With all the wonderful visitation and estimated 10.8 million visitors annually, we have parking challenges. Parking garages will resolve that and address that directly. So I want to thank the Heritage Development Group and the Hittman family for working in collaboration with city staff, with you, Michael, to present this value proposition. I'm looking forward to that M&C that's coming out for us to weigh in on.
Thank you, Carlos. Councilmember Bivens?
Thank you. Michael, wonderful presentation. I would be disappointed if you did less. I'm not real happy right now, but that's not directed at you. What I find very challenging, and I'm going to be voting for this, make no secret about that. What I find challenging is it is difficult to get this type of hocus pocus money magic when it comes to East Fort Worth. There are some East Siders here. There are many ailments we have, many challenges we have, and again, this is not directed at you. I'm just mad, okay? We have food deserts. Some kind of way, this kind of money, we ought to have a calculation to be able to make these deals happen to meet need. We need youth activity opportunities in East Fort Worth so that the activity is not me hearing tires screeching or getting money to erase burnt rubber on the street. We also need, this is my own handwriting, we need affordable housing. And so I was looking at Robert Stearns the whole time. Robert's on a calculator, so I went to David Cook to make sure there are some possibilities here. So this has my support, but I challenge staff to be able to come up with ideas that are just as complex as you have described tonight to meet real needs. And so that's my challenge. I have a development at 2820 in Trinity, got a train station there. We ought to be able to attract development. It's transit-oriented development. Nobody's knocking on the door. We need help. We need attention. And so those are my remarks. They come out of great frustration. The more brilliance you showed tonight, the madder I got, because I know that that same type of work and effort can go into something that will benefit a part of Fort Worth that does not get this type of attention. So those are my remarks.
Thank you, Gina. Council, any other discussion or questions for Michael? Councilmember Nettles?
I'm be real brief because that was a long presentation and I'm different. Next time, let's kind of condense it smaller.
But I'm going to support Mayor Pro Tem on this. I think that we need to look, and Robert and you and David, if you guys have done a great job with the stockyards. Thank you so much. I know Carlos really appreciate it. And so we have done work like this before in the Renaissance, and I think we can do it again, but it takes the whole city effort to do that. So I'm going to support Gina on that effort in challenging staff to figure out what we can do on the east side. But you did a great job on this. Congratulations. Thank you so much. I will be supporting this.
Any other questions or discussion, council? Thank you, Michael. I just want to acknowledge, I know that Craig Cavalier and Kayla Wilkie and the Hickman family are all here. Thank you very much for your tenacity on this project. I was just going back in time and remembering a few things that Craig reminded us of. You started at 3 million people annually, and you're now at 9 million, which is pretty phenomenal. And we would not be here without the private investment that it took. And so I know that today's presentation felt long and complicated, but that's because this project warrants that. Phase 2 will be double the size, both in space and also in the investment made from the private sector. And I hope that we can make Holt Hickman proud. Brad, I think we can. We already have so far. And I just want to commend Michael Henning and Robert Stearns and your entire team for working this is a hard thing to get to, and we all wanted to get it right, not just for our visitors, but importantly for the taxpayers of the city of Fort Worth, and also to protect the historic nature of the Fort Worth stockyards. And Councilmember Flores, you did an excellent job making sure that was first and foremost throughout the process. So it sounds like we have a lot of excitement, and I appreciate us all to get to this place. And now we look forward to the planning over the next year before they start throwing dirt. Sound good? Wonderful. Yes,
Mayor, I
ma'am.
got something nice to say.
Oh, good.
You guys need to know, the last vote I took involving Holt, he was in the wheelchair. And he saw my face in question. He rolled up to me, and people wondered, what's going on? But he was giving me assurance on a vote. So we understand each other. I've always been supportive of your family, and they were always supportive of me. My anger has nothing to do with you guys. Thank you.
Council, I believe that's the last of our discussion. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? If not, please vote.
Mayor,
Oh, sorry.
staff can correct me, but I don't believe there's any action
Well,
tonight.
great.
Well, when you have it, I'll be ready to vote for it then.
Okay, wonderful. So,
So moving on to our next item, that will be Resolution 24-4389.
Second.
motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next will be Resolution 24-4392.
Confirm, council, that Patrice is not here this week, but we are very thankful and excited to approve this resolution. Motion and a second, please vote.
Motion passes. Next item will be Resolution 24-4396.
Councilor Martinez, you may want to make this motion.
Yes, just want to make some notes that this is another council issue rezoning that came out of the comprehensive plan and another step towards improving the quality of life for our Echo Heights community. Thank you to all the staff and residents who played a hand in this council-initiated rezoning. And with that, I wholeheartedly motion to approve.
Motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 24-4395.
That's okay. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next is Ordinance 24-4394.
Entertain a motion, council. Motion and a second. Please vote. Jared? Yes. Okay. Motion carries.
Next will be public hearing 24-4390 with report by city staff Joel McElhaney.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. I'm Joel McElhaney, Assistant Director of the Park and Recreation Department. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear public comment on the application for a Texas Parks and Wildlife Department Urban Outdoor Recreation Grant in the amount of $1,500,000. This grant will be applied toward the construction of park improvements at Oak Grove Park. This park is located in Council District 8. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department administers the local park grant program, which includes the Urban Outdoor Recreation Grant. This grant provides matching funds to cities and counties with a population of over 500,000, or rather 16 Texas cities and counties are eligible for this grant. Grants are awarded by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department once each year as funds are available. This application is due on August 1st, 2024, and the grants we expect will be awarded in January of 2025. Staff recommends hearing public comment on this grant application, and upon completion of public comment, staff recommends that the City Council close the public hearing and adopt the resolution which authorizes this application for a Texas Parks and Wildlife Urban Outdoor Recreation Grant in the amount of $1,500,000 and designates an official to act on behalf of the City of Fort Worth in dealing with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department.
Thank you, Joel. Any other questions for Mr. McElhaney? If not, I can entertain a motion, council.
No questions. Thank you, Joe. Richard, this is a great move to close the public hearing and act upon the public hearing 24-4390 for approval.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Macy's not here.
Macy's not here, just so you know. Motion carries. Joel, you're back up again, looks like.
Yes, next item is 24-4391.
Yeah. So, Mayor, members of City Council, I'm still Joel McElhaney and still the Assistant Director of Park and Recreation. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear public comment on the application for a Texas Parks and Wildlife Urban Indoor Recreation Grant in the amount of $2 million. This grant would be applied toward renovations of the Fort Worth Zoo's Hall of Wonders in the Texas Wild exhibit. The Fort Worth Zoo is located in Forest Park in Council District 9. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department administers the local grant program, which includes the Urban Indoor Recreation Grant. This grant provides matching funds to cities and counties with a population of over 500,000, and the deadline for this application is August 1st, 2024, and we expect that the grants will be awarded in January 2025. Staff recommends hearing public comment on this grant application, and upon completion of public comment, staff recommends that the City Council close the public hearing, adopt the resolution which authorizes this application of a Texas Parks and Wildlife Department Urban Indoor Recreation Grant in the amount of up to $2 million and designates an official to act on behalf of the City of Fort Worth in dealing with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department.
Thank you, Joel. Council, any questions for Joel? If not, I can entertain a motion.
I move to close the public hearing and approve the resolution.
Motion a second, please vote. So excited about that one. Motion carries.
Next is MNC 24-0477 with report by city staff Sarah Odell.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Sarah Odell. I'm a Neighborhood Development Coordinator with the Neighborhood Services Department. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive comments from the public regarding the designation of 8 areas in Fort Worth as Neighborhood Empowerment Zones 1 through 8, and those same areas as Fort Worth Neighborhood Empowerment Reinvestment Zones 1 through 8. The proposed boundaries for each neighborhood empowerment zone and Fort Worth Neighborhood Empowerment Reinvestment Zones are included in your packet and attached to MNC 24-0477. In accordance with state law, Notice of these public hearings was published in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, a newspaper of general circulation, on June 4th, 2024, and given to each of the taxing entities which levy taxes on properties located in the proposed reinvestment zones. Since its inception in 2001, the Neighborhood Empowerment Zone program has caused an increase in economic development through the private investment in excess of $1 billion in new and expanded businesses and the creation and rehabilitation of quality, affordable housing. In addition, each of these neighborhood empowerment zones also qualifies for designation as a tax abatement reinvestment zone under Chapter 312 of the Texas Tax Code, in that such designation is likely to result in the retention or expansion of employment or to attract major investment in the zones that will be a benefit to property in the zones and that will contribute to economic development in the city. The adoption of these neighborhood empowerment zones and reinvestment zones will continue to promote the development and redevelopment of these areas. Following receipt of any public comments, staff recommends the public hearing be closed and the City Council take formal action on M&C 24-0477. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions, council? If not, we do have one speaker on this item, Bishop Kirkland.
I like to refer to it as NAS, Historic Stop 6. Historic Stop 6 must remain a vital part of the next NAS program. The work is half done in our sector. Mr. Moss and Mayor Pro Tem Bivens have done their legendary part in making our village looking compatible to other areas of our city through this program. I'm grateful for NAS, and let me stop and say this and do this disclaimer. When I say the things you've done for our ministry as part of this program is the city's no way of throwing me crumpets in order to keep me silent in certain incidents. I needed to give that disclaimer. I'm grateful for NAS because our ministry has greatly been the benefactors of this program. We've had countless mowing weeds, liens dismissed, as well as several permit fees waived. I have a few complaints as we move forward. The Housing Authority, I don't know the director now, but the city owns the majority part of Stop 6 vacant, not the city, the Housing Authority, on the largest part of the vacant land in Stop 6. And their lots tend to be more overgrown than any lots in the city. And I do take into account for all the extra rain that we've had, because we've had problems too, keeping our lots taken care of. Although I've seen some major development, but I'd like to see us move a little bit faster, Mayor Pro Tem. And on another note, I've lost connections with my NPO, and I'm a biker, and I refuse to drive down Willie Street to our church because the new Stop 6 people do not stop at stop signs. So I'm looking forward to the chief, and I think he left, but meeting my new NPO so we can do something about those red stop signs and not yellow yield signs. So I am highly favor of the NAS program, and I want to say thank you to the city for doing its part and making sure that those unforgotten and undeveloped areas of our city receive the same amount of attention and investment as some of the other areas. Thank you. Good night.
Council, that's the last of our speakers on this item. I can entertain a motion. Motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next is M&C 24-0484 with report by Stephen Nichols.
Good evening, Mayor Parker and members of the City Council. I'm Stephen Nichols. I'm the Stormwater Program Manager. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to receive public comments on and highlight recommended amendments to the floodplain ordinance, the grading permit ordinance, and the stormwater criteria manual. The public hearing also fulfills a requirement of Chapter 212 of the Texas Local Government Code. Existing stormwater development regulations currently do not apply to all properties less than 1 acre in size, and yet flooding impacts properties of all sizes. This proposed amendment will extend development regulations to properties less than 1 acre that the city knows are susceptible to flooding based on detailed engineering evaluations. The proposed amendments to the floodplain ordinance will establish non-FEMA city flood risk areas known as CFRAs. CFRA regulations would regulate all development activity such as residential and commercial developments less than 1 acre and located inside a city flood risk area. The scale of development activity may range from tall fences, accessory structures, additions, new home construction, all the way up to commercial and mixed-use developments under 1 acre in size. Such development activity would require elevation of structures 2 feet above the 100-year flood risk, submission of certificate from a professional engineer to document that development will not cause increased flood risk to neighboring properties. The city flood risk areas can be determined by going to the city's flood risk viewer website, and information about individual properties can also be found via the One Address website. The proposed amendments to the grading permit ordinance will make the permitting process more effective and efficient. The most significant improvement is replacing the final stormwater management plan with a grading permit, and this eliminates one step in the development review process. The proposed amendments to the stormwater criteria manual will integrate the proposed amendments to the floodplain ordinance and the grading permit ordinance. In addition, the proposed amendments will clarify the city's requirements and revise regulations based on new information and lessons learned from how the current regulations are implemented. All 3 amendments are proposed to take effect on July 15, 2024. Stormwater staff have engaged with members from a variety of stakeholder and community groups on these recommended updates. In accordance with Section 212.0021 of the Texas Local Government Code, notice of tonight's public hearing was published in the Star-Telegram on May 24th, 2024. Upon the conclusion of tonight's public hearing, City staff recommends City Council close the public hearing and approve the M&C. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Stephen. Are there any questions, council, for Stephen? Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Bob Horton from the Randall's Mill Valley Alliance will be very glad to hear your proposal. And it's going to make people safer. And so I am very pleased, very proud, and downright excited about what I see to be a positive change coming about. And so you will have my support, but you already know that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Got a motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is M&C 24-0503 with report by Daniel Miracle.
Mayor Parker, members of City Council, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Daniel Miracle. I'm a senior environmental specialist with the Environmental Quality Division in the Environmental Services Department. The purpose of today's public hearing is to receive comments to establish a municipal setting designation, or MSD 34, for Kelly Court, located at 3409, 3412, 3413, and 3417 Kelly Court, Fort Worth, Texas 76106, in Council District 2. The proposed property consists of approximately 3.624 acres and is owned by Kelly Court LLC. The property is currently zoned K Heavy Industrial. The chemicals of concern identified in groundwater are chlorinated volatile organic compounds. The subject property has historically been used for automotive parts manufacturing and service activities, which are believed to have contributed to the groundwater impacts. The groundwater is shallow, perched, and discontinuous, and occurs at depths of approximately 7 to 9 feet below the ground's surface. The affected shallow groundwater is underlain by several confining limestone layers that serve as a regional aquitard, preventing the vertical migration of the chemicals of concern to underlying potable aquifers. A public meeting was held on May 21st, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Diamond Hill Community Center, 1700 Northeast 37th Street. Questions and comments received regarding MSD do not adversely impact staff's recommendation to approve the MSD. In advance of the public meeting and today's hearing, written notice was sent to property owners in municipalities within 1 mile of the MSD boundary and to owners of public water supply utilities with groundwater supply wells within 5 miles of the proposed MSD boundary. Following any public comments, staff recommends closing the public hearing, adopting MNC 22 MSD-034 and the attached resolution and ordinance, thereby establishing CFW MSD 0034.
Thank you, Daniel. Questions from council? With that, I can turn it to Councilmember Flores.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just have a couple of comments. Thank you for your report. Just for the edification of those that are here, there are different levels of environmental attainment, correct?
Correct.
All right. And the highest being, having designation of potable water, which this is not, right? Okay. All right. This is being used as industrial for, several years. It continues to be. It's surrounded by industrial uses, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Then you mentioned there was a public meeting about that, so the community knew full well that this will continue being used as such, correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. With that, Mayor, move for approval.
Motion a second, council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-186.
Thank you, Jeanette. We have 3 speakers on this item. Our first is Ray Ojeski, followed by Sarah Landcart.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight, the zoning that we're bringing before you is for a narrowly tailored list of auto uses that the property owner would like to add at this facility, which are not traditional auto repair and body repair uses. As you see the list here, we have auto detailing, auto windshield chip repair, auto dent repair with no body repair, auto wrap installation, auto ceramic coating with no auto painting, auto upholstery, and auto window tinting. Again, these are all small business owners performing cosmetic work on vehicles. This is not auto mechanic repair services. This is not engine repair. This is not hydraulic lifts. This is not pneumatic tools doing work on cars. All of this occurs in completely enclosed areas. These are examples of uses throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth area that are prospective tenants for this site. Auto detailing and ceramic coating. This is auto windshield repair and replacement, again, clean and enclosed. Examples of wrap uses where they actually wrap the vehicles for various advertising purposes, clean and enclosed. An example of paintless dent repair where, again, hailstorms, great business here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then finally, just window tinting that is done on these vehicles. Again, we believe these uses are completely compatible with residential uses that are in this area because, again, they are enclosed and they are essentially noise-free because of the type of work that goes on there. Tonight, I have representatives from the property owner, Ben Meyer, if you guys will stand. Ben, Sarah Landcart is here tonight. We also have Corey Hill with Custom Touch Auto Trim. Corey, thank you for being here tonight. I want you to know that these are not speculative tenants. These are actual tenants that are ready to move into this business park and operate at this facility. With that, I'll conclude my presentations and respectfully ask for your approval. Thank you.
Next speaker is Sarah Landcart, followed by Lisa Riker. Okay, Lisa Riker.
Hello, I'm Lisa Riker, speaking against the proposed rezoning for the fourth time as the Secretary of the Ridgely Hills Addition Neighborhood Association. We are a volunteer-based neighborhood association. We are not a well-funded HOA. We have unfortunately been able to meet with Ray in person due to scheduling and travel conflicts, but we have spoken with the neighbors at neighborhood events, to those opposed and to new neighbors, and all are still opposed to the rezoning. I would like to note that although the pictures in Ray's presentation were very compelling, they are not a good representation of the property in question. The bays there are significantly smaller. So we feel that the suggestion that was made that the bays will be kept closed to cut down on noise is unlikely to actually happen in real life unless the units in question are retrofitted with better HVAC systems to handle dust, fumes, and other debris. It's also unlikely that a gate that was suggested earlier to keep out trespassers to the site will not be able to be installed on the property, given that it shares a driveway with the neighboring Fort Worth Fire Department Station 30. A gate there could hinder their response times. So to again reiterate the neighborhood association's position, we find it highly likely that allowing any type of auto uses on this property will inevitably lead to noise pollution, exposure to fumes and chemicals in any nature, and additional crime and safety issues, all of which will lead to lower property values and, more importantly, lower quality of life for our neighbors. The burden of monitoring and reporting any zoning violations will fall squarely on them. So today we ask the council to follow the Zoning Commission's recommendation to deny the rezoning request and to protect our residential neighborhood from encroachment by incompatible commercial uses, which is a goal from the city's 2023 comprehensive plan. We want to thank the Zoning Commission for their past efforts and foresight by including Section 5.104C in the zoning ordinance, which states, auto repair land use is prohibited in places adjacent to residential zoned properties. So we'd also like to take a moment to thank Councilmember Crane, and I believe actually Stacy Pierce as well, for their work to secure the upcoming Bomber Spur Trail, which also coincidentally would run adjacent to that property. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Riker. Councilmember Crane, that's the last of our speakers.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Ms. Riker, thank you again for being there to speak. Sorry I'm not there in person, not feeling 100% today, and so I didn't want to be there. But Ray, can you come back to the podium, please?
Here.
Thanks, Ray. I know you've spoken with the neighbors, at least you, maybe not in person. I know you held a meeting a couple of weeks ago. No one from the neighborhood actually showed up to that meeting, but I think you've reached out and spoken to Ms. Riker on the phone at least a few times.
We have, Councilmember Crane, we communicated with Ms. Riker previously and had outreach to the neighborhood association itself based off of their website address on the city's system. Did personally myself reach out by email to each of these individuals that was listed on the website to invite them to a presentation that we had at Fred's Texas Cafe. That was on May the 16th. Again, no one did appear based on that outreach that we made. So we have, again, done our part, we believe, in meeting, or at least offering to meet and discuss concerns that they have with regard to these uses.
And how is the property being used now?
The property is currently zoned light industrial. It's a mix of PD's light industrial zoning and an industrial park zoning. So there are currently light industrial uses that are ongoing on the property right now. These added auto uses would essentially create a down zone of this property. The zoning that you have before you tonight is actually a down zoning from the industrial level down to a commercial level. So there are some light industrial uses that would still continue on the property that are currently ongoing there now, but the auto uses would then come in under commercial zoning so that no further industrial uses would take place on the property.
Okay. I've looked at this, Ms. Riker, I've seen there's another property, I don't want to speak, but I think it's in District 6 that this company owns. These are small businesses. The gentleman that's there tonight, I'm sure will be happy to talk to you about the kind of business that this would allow to be there. Again, outlined, detailing, car detailing, windshield repair, wrap. This isn't heavy mechanical use, and I understand that the zoning itself, when it was put in place, was really looking at making sure that you don't have heavy chemical use, other things that might be the neighborhood. I'm very, very cognizant of the Bomber Spur Trail that's there, that there's a separation grade there. I don't want to do anything to impede that progress there. The mayor's been out to see that property with me and look at it too. But I don't think that this is going to be as offensive as it might appear. I'll say this, you have my commitment to ensure that they're following the rules, that code is ensuring the property is good, that this is working with the fire station that is there on that property, and ensuring, I think that the buyers have committed to put up additional fencing and greenery close to the spur to give a buffer. But I know Lane Carts, I know who this is, and I think that we can work this out with the neighborhood. So I am going to move to approve this evening, and I'm willing to sit down and continue the conversations to make sure that they are fulfilling on no heavy sort of industrial use in that area that's not congruent to the neighborhood. So with that, I do move to approve this.
Councilmember Bivens, please.
Ms. Riker, I have a question if you'll come back to the podium. I'm real good at listening to what people say when they come to the podium. And one thing you said left me questioning, and that was this would impede access or time runs for the fire department. Can you repeat what you said to make sure I understood you?
So one of the opposing neighbors actually went back, because it is an open property, and went through and saw that the area where there would have to be a gate or some type of security gate installed shares an access with the fire station, and they brought up that concern.
So no one from fire said that would be an issue?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
But I don't know if anyone from fire has been contacted by the property owners as well.
Okay,
So
thanks.
it's just a concern we wanted to bring up.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Council, I have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? If not, please vote. Carries.
Next item is SP-24-004.
Our first speaker is Joe Johnson, followed by Dan Hayes.
Good evening, Mayor Parker and council members. Honestly, we weren't sure if we were going to be on the agenda this evening. On May 23rd, Councilwoman Martinez reached out and asked that we continue to the 25th, I think, of June, so she can be in attendance. So we found out yesterday that, that this case would be heard today, so we wanted to show up and basically ask for a continuance. So last week, we were working with Ms. Martinez on a few revisions that she initiated that she'd like to see on our exhibits. And really, we just like the time to prepare for the next meeting, revise our exhibits, meet with her, try to meet with any other neighbors that are here. I was trying to save y'all some time today, but so all we're asking for right now is it continues to the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Councilman Martinez, you want me to just roll through the speakers, or you want to respond to that? Okay. Our next speaker is Dan Hayes, followed by Cindy Bowling.
Good evening. My name is Dan Hayes. I live in District 11. Dallas Avenue is a residential street immediately south of East Lancaster Avenue. It really should be renamed Rodney Dangerfield Avenue because it gets no respect. Within the span of 500 feet, there are 3 commercial entities that have insinuated themselves onto a working-class street. 2 of these commercial entities are illegal, and the one that is legal is asking for changes to the site plan they agreed to 20 years ago, which is why we're here tonight. None of these do anything to enhance the property values of the homes on Dallas Avenue. In this diagram, everything in blue on the north side of Dallas Avenue is zoned A5, as is everything on the south side of Dallas Avenue. In yellow, we have a residential lot that the owner of the East Lancaster property directly to the east recently purchased, demolished the house without a permit, and then installed an 8-foot wood fence on the front yard property line with no variance and no permit. The owner is storing vehicles illegally behind that fence. In red is a portion of an East Lancaster property that is also being used illegally for storing vehicles. Again, both of these are zoned A5. Co-compliance is aware of both situations. Now we have this zoning case shown in the green border. This is what the Dallas Avenue property owners looked at for many years, which was part of the site plan requirements carefully negotiated with the East Fort Worth Business Association in 2003. More recently, this is what the property owners had to look at. After Central Meadowbrook made the applicant in this case aware of the condition of the fence line, they did this. No more shrubs, although it's still a site plan requirement, and a poorly constructed replacement fence. It's topped with a 7,000-volt electric fence installed in the last couple of years. That replaced the concertina wire that used to top the fence. This home borders the subject property on the west. Their portion of the fence was not replaced. It still has missing pickets, and they still have 7,000 volts on top to avoid. These 2 homes are directly across the street. While these owners have tried to keep up their properties, others are more hesitant to reinvest, but who can blame them? The residents of Dallas Avenue deserve better. If this fence represents the applicant's vision of improvements, I can only wonder what the fence they're proposing for the front side will look like in a few years. Keep in mind the roofing supply company is a tenant on the property only bound by a lease. No telling what will happen if they leave. Please deny this zoning change. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cindy Bowling, followed by Wanda Conlon.
Thank you. I'm Cindy Bowling. I'm president of Central Meadowbrook Neighborhood Association, an affected neighborhood by this zoning application. At the May hearing, I opened my presentation by emphasizing that historically our neighborhood has been open-minded and willing to listen to proposals for development and zoning changes, and that stands today. But again, we ask that you please support our neighborhoods by denying with prejudice this zoning case. Beacon Supply leases this property and has been operating in this East Lancaster location for many years. It's important that you understand that our request that you deny this application is not a message that we no longer appreciate their business. We simply cannot support a fence across this huge area that fronts East Lancaster that will remain if or when Beacon moves. No other business has expressed a need or desire to wall in their parking lot, and allowing the applicant to do so sets a serious precedent. The applicant states that the requested fence is to add security for drivers of the semi-trucks who come to the property, but also allow them to grow their business by increasing their outdoor storage. This statement signals to us that they might allow parking for semi-trucks, since before the May hearing, they were allowing semi-trucks to park illegally overnight. Additionally, this case was heard by zoning in April, and again by council last month. This applicant has never reached out to our neighborhood, ever, and through our research has not reached out to any other affected neighborhood. And here we are tonight, asking for a continuance. Let me catch my breath. Our vision for the renewal of East Lancaster and all the surrounding property does not include a 6+ acre property with an 8-foot solid fence and an already existing 7,000-volt electric fence for an 18-wheeler shipping warehouse and a parking lot. We have an opportunity with each new zoning case that comes up on locations like this to change the scenery. Our neighborhoods are looking forward to a new economic growth along the East Lancaster corridor with businesses that serve the people who live here and businesses that nurture the growth of other businesses. This applicant's 8-foot fence solution does not appeal to that vision. Neither does a 6-foot or 5-foot fence. Please deny this case. Please. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Wanda Conlon, followed by Bill Swinson.
I'll introduce myself again. We've been here a long time tonight, and I've almost forgotten who I am. Wanda Conlon, 1755 Martell in District 11. If the application that you are looking at tonight were for a business in any other part of the commercial quarters in Fort Worth, we probably wouldn't even be here, because I can't imagine an 8-foot tall wooden fence on any business on Camp Bowie, West 7th, Magnolia, in Como, where there's a revitalization going on. The visual landscape in any area speaks to security and attractiveness. The 8-foot wall being proposed speaks of the opposite. We have more than $350 million for repurposing and redesign of East Lancaster, the East Lancaster corridor. The proposal before you is inappropriate, and the motion should be for denial with prejudice. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bill Swinson.
Mayor Parker and council members, my name is Bill Swinson. I live at 501 Green River Trail, and I am also a member of the Board of Directors of the East Fort Worth Business Association, and I have been authorized by the board to present you the following letter. Dear Mayor Parker and members of the City Council, the officers and directors of the East Fort Worth Business Association wish to reiterate to you our strong and unanimous support of the Zoning Commission's recommendation for denial in the above referenced case, SP 24-004. The addition of a large stockade fence at the subject property at 5328 East Lancaster would create an outside storage hazard that is incompatible with the current zoning. Additionally, we strongly feel that allowing this type of variance to this zoning along East Lancaster would set a very undesirable precedent should future cases of this type along the avenue be presented. The requested variance goes completely against the spirit of the locally preferred alternative for redevelopment of the avenue that was approved by this council on May 14th, 2024. We strongly urge council to concur with the Zoning Commission's recommendation for denial in the above referenced case. Please do not make the task of East Lancaster redevelopment more difficult than it already is. The letter is signed by our president, Donald Boren. I have copies for each of you. Thank you for your attention.
Councilmember Martinez is the last of our speakers on this item.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few comments. I want to start by saying that I agree with the community that solid wooden fence would not match the surrounding properties and would set a precedent. I also believe that a property owner has a right to protect its property and human capital who themselves are just trying to make a living and go home to their loved ones. It's no secret that there are major public safety concerns along Lancaster Avenue. To Mr. Johnson, I did propose the idea of continuing this case to the 25th because I did want to be there, but I feel now that this needs to be addressed today. I am amenable to the installation of a wrought iron fence. I've thought about this case for a long time and don't believe that a 2-week continuance will allow enough time to meet with the community and surrounding neighbors and those organizations that have spoken today. It is for this reason that I am denying this zoning request without prejudice to allow you sufficient time for outreach and to resubmit with a new site plan.
Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-025.
Our first speaker is Ali Aranzad. Ali, maybe? Ali, excuse me, thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to represent Action Auto Recycling on getting a special use permit. And I don't know if you guys can see the pages that we uploaded on the system, so I can do a little description of what is going on. We have been on this location for almost 30 years, and as you see on the pictures, we have done everything in our power to be a good neighbor and keep a neighborhood clean and keep our environment safe. As you see on the pictures, on the page 1, and these are our outside appearance, all the way through page 3-4 pages that you see that these are all, I don't know, yeah, there you go. These are our appearance. And we have, in year 2004, we planted 23 trees along the side of our properties. And you can see those are beautiful oak trees. And also, we have spent so much time and effort to put fence. We have an 8-foot solid fence with about 5 feet wide borders or bases, we call them, to keep the trash and keep the, all the water drainage that it goes to our outlets that is designated for that purpose. We have almost 20,000 square feet of warehouse to make sure the part does not sit outside the premises under rain and we get contamination. And as you see on our warehouses, all shelved, dismantling area. On page 4, if we go along, you can see we have a holding area which is all concrete, and as you see that we have plenty of vegetation, so it shows a healthy environment. On page 5, unfortunately, one of our trees were damaged through the driving, and on other pages you see that we sent tests to the seed water tests every 6 months to make sure that we don't have any water going into the stream system. So what I'm asking you for extension of another 10 years of our permit. We would appreciate that. And our extension
Thank you,
was,
sir. I have to cut you off. I apologize. Councilmember Nettles may have questions in a minute.
yes.
Our next speaker is Adrian Smith.
So let me begin by saying that I looked at this particular site on Google Maps, and this area is already industrialized. This is off of Riverside, so we know Riverside is just like parts of what the Echo Heights quarter have been dealing with. It's like just like Lancaster, over industrialized, and we have communities that are adjacent to all of this over industrialization, that brings about the environmental injustices that a lot of people have been dealing with since their inception into this city. So to the tenant, I don't know personally, and it's nothing personal with me, because like I state, anytime I stand before you all, I'm one with the people. 30 years, a tenant remain, 30 years a good neighbor. Why the change now? Why the change now? Because it says he wants to maximize into heavy industrialization. So why the change now if you've been such a good neighbor for 30 years? Again, sir, there's nothing to you. But as we seek to make things better for the whole of Fort Worth, because we heard you all use the term y'all tonight, and if anything I'm stating up here is funny to any of you, by all means, share with us, okay? Share with us. But Miss Gina, you're saying, you're mumbling under your breath. You said one thing tonight. You used the term difficult. Nothing is difficult in life, Miss Gina. Nothing is difficult in life, because difficult encompasses whatever you make difficult, okay? So as far as the environmental injustices that continue to go on, and I want people to know who cannot see you all's face that you're laughing. I want people to know that you all are laughing. That is very childish, but it speaks to you all's character. So again, Gina, you also stated that staff should do a better job as far as bringing things to your attention as it relates to
my name.
the environmental injustices that have occurred with the Echo Heights community. But you served for 10 years. Part of that is on you. You represented them for 10 years. Part of that is on you. So it's not a matter of the staff's doing. It's a matter of the heart. And you all's heart is speaking right now. The wickedness that's in your hearts while you're laughing, I'm not offended by it. It just shows your character. It shows what's in your heart.
Shows what you don't.
It shows what's in your heart. So I had one more item to speak on. Thank you all for being disrespectful. But I had one more item to speak on.
That's the last of our speakers on that item.
Oh, good. I said good.
That's right.
Let me say this. Thank you for coming out. I don't have no questions. I understand what we're finna vote on, so I have no question. Now, call me on, because we got to get out of here. But I appreciate it. Now, staff, I think we got 5 years. He requested 10, so I don't know what happened with that. Do we have a question on that? Let me ask that question real quick. I didn't have any questions, but I think that's what he's trying to ask.
Christopher Osher from Legal. The request can be made, and it can be amended to increase it by 10 years.
Why didn't we do 10 at the beginning in zoning?
The request or the staff recommendation was 5. I know that there was discussion among the zoning
coming?
commission.
Okay.
So LaShondra made.
Hello, LaShondra Stringfellow, Assistant Director. The reason why the 5 years was requested, because we know that we're going through the 2050 Comprehensive Plan update. So we want to get through that update before we, made anything longer than 5 years.
Okay, and thank you. And the next zoning commission meets when, tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to encourage Mr. Adrian Smith to start attending the zoning commission meeting so that you can be understanding what we're voting on today. So thank you so much. I'm going to keep that 5 years. I think that's important that we do 5 years with the comprehension plan that's coming up. And so I move to approve the motion. Sure. Please, come to the mic. You gotta come to the mic.
What it is we have proved I mean, we haven't asked for any change. We just extending our, our permit. And last time we paid only $400 for permit. This time I paid $5,400 for permit. And as you see, and also we had all this petition from neighborhood that we are doing our best to keep up everything. And it is so much stress and so much expense to just extend what we have been doing for the last 30 years. So that's why we're asking for 10 years, because, I mean, it is outrageous, $5,400 just for application fee.
You paid $5,000 for the application to
I paid
extend it.
$2,700 for the zoning, and I paid $2,700 for this meeting. And what part of that is fair?
Wow. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna amend my motion. Thank you. Leanne. Okay, I'm gonna rescind my motion and allocate that we move for 10 years.
Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-032.
Councilmember Beck, we do have two speakers on this item, only if there's opposition, which there is none. Motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-033.
No speakers on this item. Councilmember Martinez.
I'm sorry, this is District 10.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Blaylock, my apologies.
No worries. Thank you, Mayor. So letters of support from the surrounding neighborhoods for this development, and no opposition at all, so I motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-037.
Councilman Martinez, this one is yours. We do have one speaker on this item, Adrian Smith.
Hey, Councilmember Martinez, with this particular MMC, I was in favor of, I just would like to say to you, to keep industrialization where it is. It's in its rightful place. I'm sorry that you had to inherit such bad conditions when they chose to cut the city map up and make a new district. We know that a lot of this is because of Ms. Gina Bivens' lack of.
Adrian, please. Just.
So, Ms. Martinez, again, as it relates to this industrialization, just continue to remember this is your district. You had a final say when it comes to your district. Always put your constituents above developers or business interests. Know that you were elected for a reason and for a cause. Have your own mind, be your own person. You have children, and I'm sure some of these individuals have children, but do not become childlike like these individuals before me.
Sustained. Adrian, do you have any items on ZC set 24-037?
As I reclaim my time, Mayor, that's what I'm speaking on.
No.
If you would open your ears and listen.
You know what? We're done. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.
We appreciate you very much. We're a little confused.
Echo Heights was there before I got in office.
Very confused. Okay, I've got Councilman Martinez. Floor is yours.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-040.
Motion and a second, please vote.
Next item is ZC-24-041.
We've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? Please vote.
I cannot move. I'm done tonight. Oh, God.
Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-042.
Councilmember Nettles, go ahead, please. Motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0473, with a note, council, that you are approving the updated attachments as provided by staff.
A motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next is MNC 24-0523.
I'm going to call Gary Cumby down to the microphone for a moment. I think we missed a speaker item earlier. Gary?
Thank you, Mayor. And members of the council, I appreciate an opportunity to speak to you about something I believe is very important, our Central Park, Gateway Park. And I call it our Central Park not only because it's near our city center, but also because at nearly 800 acres, it is almost the size of New York City's Central Park. And is that park vital to New York City? Well, if you do an internet search for top attractions in New York City, you'll find that TripAdvisor.com lists it as the #1 tourist attraction in the city by a wide margin over the 9/11 Memorial, the Empire State Building, and the Statue of Liberty. This shows the importance of having a multi-attraction city park for tourism and also for the enjoyment of our citizens. There have been a lot of plans for Gateway Park over the decades, but little has been done. I hope this time will be different because I believe that the Parks and Recreation Department and their consultants have produced an excellent master plan. I attended several of the meetings where input was gathered, and I was impressed with the extent to which officials listened and made changes based on what they heard. I doubt that anybody got everything in this plan that they wanted, but I think everybody got something, and I've heard many commendations for the process and the resulting plan. So my first request of the council this evening is, please pass this plan as it is so that things can get started. My second request is about funding. The estimated cost of implementing this plan is $140 million in current dollars. The Parks Department has proposed $20 million to be included in the next bond election, and no doubt that's a significant amount, and I know the council will have many competing projects to consider. But here's the thing, we typically have a bond election every 4 years, so $20 million would be $5 million per year for the project. If we carry out this plan at that rate, it might appear we could complete it in 28 years, but no. I hate to bring up inflation, none of us likes that, but non-residential construction costs increased at a rate of 3.7% per year during the decade of 2011 to 2020, and it's been even higher since. And we hope that'll go away, but just using that 3.7% number on a $140 million project is a little over $5 million per year that inflation could add to the project. We'll be like folks who are paying the minimum on their credit card and they'll never pay it off. So I urge the council to consider a bold step and to put $50 million in the next bond package for this project. Give the voters a chance to say yes to their Central Park. Bite off a big chunk of the project early on to show our citizens what the park can be and to save money down the road. Please, for our citizens and our city's visitors, pass the master plan tonight
Thank
and
you,
put
Gary.
$50 million toward its accomplishment in the next bond program. Thank you very
Councilmember
much for
Martinez,
letting
that's
me
the last of our speakers on this item. I know there's probably several council members that are very interested in this as well, but I'll turn to you.
So if there's any other council members that have any comments, please, you feel free to go before me.
Any other council members have discussion? Nope, you're good, Jeanette.
Okay. Gary, this time will be different, and I enthusiastically motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second. I have long talkers, but I can feel the heat from my council members. But it doesn't change the fact that I know how hard, not just the City of Fort Worth staff, to Richard and Joel and your entire team, thank you, but also to our residents of Fort Worth that have advocated for this for decades. And this is a great start. I think we should be really proud of the master plan. I'm very proud to couple this with the work we're doing in Good Nature and our open space initiative. And just from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'm so excited. Well said, Gary. This is our Central Park, and I think it belongs to the entire community. And this is an opportunity to really move things forward together. So thank y'all for staying late. And Jeanette, thank you for your enthusiastic motion. I've got a motion and a second on the floor. Please vote. Carries.
Next is MNC 24-0406.
Councilmember Flores.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We have a motion for the Organic Processing Services Contract 24-0406. I move to approve that MNC with the following changes. 1, change all references for the agreement to non-exclusive agreement. 2, revise the paragraph titled Evaluation Criteria to include the following sentence. The evaluation criteria scoring table is attached and has been distributed to the mayor and council. A marked up version of the MNC reflecting these changes has been distributed and provided to the city secretary's office. And that constitutes my motion.
A motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0524.
Councilmember Martinez.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0501.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Marilyn, thanks for your work on this. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0494.
Councilmember Beck. Motion and a second. Please vote. And motion carries.
Mayor, that concludes all of the action items.
Thank you, council. I believe we are